This episode is brought to you by Amazon Prime. From streaming to shopping, Prime helps you get more out of your passions. So whether you're a fan of true crime or prefer a nail-biting novel from time to time, with services like Prime Video, Amazon Music, and fast free delivery, Prime makes it easy to get more out of whatever you're into or getting into. Visit Amazon.com/Prime to learn more.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Buying a car shouldn't eat up your week. That's why Carvana made it convenient. Car buying that fits around your life, not the other way around. You can get pre-qualified for an auto loan in just a couple of minutes and browse thousands of quality car options, all within your terms, all online, all on your schedule. Turn car buying into a few clicks and not a full week's endeavor. Finance and buy your car at your convenience on Carvana. Financing subject to credit approval. Additional terms and conditions may apply.
And welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast, along with my partners Brian Siegler, Jonathan Talley, and Shelton Moss. I am Curtis Wilson, and this episode is brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts down at the Main Street Pharmacy, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy, 301 South Main Street, Blacksburg, Virginia. Gentlemen, tonight, I think, as the kids say, I think we got a banger.
Absolute banger. I put it out there in the X sphere, the Twitter sphere earlier. Definitely one of my favorite episodes that we do every year at this point. This is now the third year in a row that we put this one together. The 2024 preview panel, it's right up there with State of the Program in the lexicon of our episodes. It's something I get excited about. We always have a drink. So cheers.
Now look how far we done come. I wasn't even on the first one.
I know.
I don't even think I watched it. I think I watched it afterwards, but I don't think I watched it live. I wasn't on it. Hey, we were shooting bad. What was that, 2022? That was a rough year, man.
Yeah.
Shoot, that was a rough year, man. But guess what? We here now, baby. 2024 preview panel. We got young Sheldon in the building, Curtis in the building, Brian in the building, along with a heap of guests coming on. I think everybody should be feeling good right now.
Yeah, man, we got a crew that's deep again. We're rolling 10 deep with panelists this year. We got 3 segments. We're gonna kind of break them down into kind of their own little themes here. So me and Tally got the first segment coming up here in just a moment. It's the Fun Bunch 2024. It's gonna be a blast. Can't wait to introduce those guests. Panel 2. We got Hokies hype by the numbers. We're going to take a statistical dive into kind of what the hype for this 2024 season is all about. And then last but not least, segment 3, what does being back look like? And that we're just going to take a look. When we see something at some point in the future, what's that going to look like? What's it going to feel like when the Hokies are finally back into that national relevance? I feel like we're kind of climbing into that segment right now. So, fellas, how we feeling?
I feel great.
Man.
Doing good.
I feel great.
All right. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and Curtis, Sheldon, we'll see you later. We got there. All right. So without further ado, let's introduce the panelist for the Fun Bunch 24 segment 1. And we got to start with the guy that helps us out here. He pays the bills. He fills your pills. Your friendly neighborhood pharmacist, Lord Dr. Jeremy Counts.
Oh, hey, everybody. It's good to be live. I love it when we do this.
He's back. He's ready. He's got a drink in hand. He's got a absurd photo of himself in the background. He is in his hall. He is ready to accept the court at his leisure.
Pay your fucking fealty. I'm a simple man, Brian. Simple man. I just demand fealty and bows.
Hey, man, we'll see what we can do.
I got no comment on anything that he has to say. Just letting you know.
Next tonight, this man is the OG of Hokie Twitter. He's the host of Virginia Tech is for Legends, and he is the legend himself.
VT4L.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Give it up for Don V. Vito, how we doing?
Good evening. Good evening. Thanks for having me. Full gang in the building. Jeremy, could they check my boy?
Once pharmacies have money again, I will. We're all poor as shit.
Vito, every time I see you, man, I have to take a double take. I'm used to the locks, man. I'm used to the locks. And now what, it's been like a year since you had them cut?
No, like 5 months.
5 months. So I'm still getting used to it.
Spring game, wasn't it? Like just before that?
Yeah, like a month before the spring game.
Yeah. I love it. Love it. How you been living, Chief?
Man, I'm blessed, black, and highly favored, my boy. You already know me.
There it is.
Next up, this man needs no introduction. He comes correct with great video content. He gives even better takes. He is the man, the myth, the legend, Grayson Wimbish.
Gentlemen, how we doing? It's great to be back for another one. I appreciate you guys having me. Very, very fired up about this.
On, man. Love having you on. Again, had to bring you on for the fun bunch because that's what you bring to the table. You got fun energy, but you tell it like it is, and that's what we like about you.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, it's the big man on campus, Dan Pultz. He hosts the Tales from the TerrorDome podcast. Give it up for my man, Dan.
So, y'all, how we living?
Living good, man. Living the dream. I know you're happy to be here. What's everybody drinking on? Everybody got some alcohol in hand, or are we sipping on something different?
Oh, yeah. I got a Parkway Get Ben IPA because I'm vowing this time for, this is number 5, and every single time I get completely blacked out drunk. And this time I am going to go the distance.
Going the distance.
He is not going the distance.
You gonna make it all the way to the end.
I never go to the fucking
Hell
distance.
No, he ain't making the distance.
Hey, you might make it through this.
I got a Corona over here
till we hit the end stream thing tonight.
Oh yeah, that's true. Normally we go for like 3 hours straight on State of the Program, and I'm just like pounding them the entire time. Even when I move to beer, I'm just blasted by the end of it.
Yeah, you either sucking back the JMOs or you're hitting some IPAs with a regular stream. So
I can't help myself.
Sir. You can't, man. You got to do it. We got some folks out there in the listening world, YouTube, out there on Instagram, Twitter, a little bit everywhere. So if y'all want to hit us up, ask some questions for the panel, throw them in there. We'll put them on the screen. We'll see what they got to say. But let's start with something a little fun here. We every year. We haven't gotten it yet, but every year we get these depth charts, right? We get these depth charts for the first week of the season, and everybody has a fucking conniption, right? So they see a depth chart, and they're like, why is this person still starting? Why is this person ahead of this person? And like everybody has a freak out. So, we got a bunch of positions where there's some battles. There's some guys that we kind of think are kind of taking the next step. They're trying to get into that next realm. All right, what players are going to be week 1 starters in names on that first depth chart where that or designation is doing a ton of heavy lifting? And Dan, let's start with you.
Man, and I mean this with no disrespect, but Josh Fuga would probably be the first name that comes to mind, only because Kamari Copeland, the hype is there this offseason. He's putting up the numbers. In the weight room, he looks good. Out there on the field, the way, JC likes to rotate players in and out. We saw it last year. with Feldarius Payne. He didn't start, but by the end of the season, he was getting significant reps. So if I had to guess, I would say that Josh Fugler would probably be the first person that came out of my mouth on that.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the names that popped into my mind too. The hype behind Copeland is so strong. I mean, going out there, breaking the squat record, coming in highly touted. He had a interception in the spring game. Out there running like a linebacker playing defensive tackle. So, I mean, this guy kind of does a little bit of everything. Grayson, what you got for us?
I'm just more so curious. I mean, I think offensively from a skill perspective, you kind of know who's going to be out there. But I think the obvious, and again, no disrespect, the obvious concern is the offensive line. So I think it's going to be a matter of where guys are lining up where on the offensive line. So, how much movement are we going to see based on kind of performance against Vanderbilt? Will the coaches move the guys around? So I don't have any one particular name, but it's maybe Caden Moore, where we're going to see him. Parker Clemens, where we're going to see him. I think that's probably my biggest question mark, if you will.
All right, Grayson. Focusing on the offensive line, I always love that.
Yep.
Vito,
right,
what you got?
Hold on before we go to Vito, because these two guys right here was real diplomatic, and I appreciate that. But I want to throw something in before we go to the next two guys, because I feel like they're going to be a little bit more real. Grayson, it ain't no I want to see. The only oil we need to see by some of them offensive lineman names is you fucking block somebody or you going to work at Dick's Sporting Goods. That's what we need to see.
Yes, indeed.
Right. My bad. Now, Vito, I'm sorry. You can ask Vito the question you was asking.
Vito, how you feeling about that?
Ask the question again, please.
Yeah. So we got week 1 starters in name only. Who's going to have that OR designation that's doing a whole lot of heavy lifting?
Okay, the OR designation. Okay, I just had to make sure I heard the thing right. That's Benji Gosnell. I seen Nick Gallo on like preseason lists. No disrespect, bro. I don't want no smoke. Benji Gosnell is my answer. I don't want no smoke, bro. I ain't no man's. I ain't gonna disrespect him on yours. Benji Gosnell is my answer.
Whoa. So what does Vito's saying? He thinks Benji gonna play more. Nick's the one that's gonna be on the other side of the OR. It's gonna be Benji playing.
Benji should be playing.
Okay.
How about that?
He's saying Nick's gonna get that starting designation, but that OR gonna really be it's really Benji.
Shit, if he's playing like he does in college football 25, he gonna win the Heisman.
Don't let that college football get you fucked up. Get your bets. I'm just gonna go ahead and tell y'all.
Ali Jennings already won the Heisman twice for me, so and he only played 1 year.
Man, I had David Belfield out there throwing that thing like and running like Lamar Jackson. So don't let that college football get you messed up. So another shout out, man. I see Will just hopped in. Shout out to the people, man, that's out there. I know the hurricane been coming through. My boy Will, he's on tonight. Hurricane's been tearing. I think he's in South Carolina, so a lot of people have been dealing with that. So prayers to them people. Houses getting flooded and cars floating away and stuff like that. So if y'all are praying, people, say a prayer for the people that's been affected by the hurricane.
Absolutely. It feels like the summer decided to give us all the rain at one damn time and did not spread it out at all this year. So it's hitting a lot of people tough. So yeah, keep them in your thoughts out there. Before we move on, Jeremy, what do you got on this? Who's got that OR designation that really should be that starter?
Man, y'all want a real answer? None of us know fucking shit. Like, this is just fucking started. We don't know who's going to show out. We don't know who's going to be a fucking gamer out there. We don't know what's going to, we're talking about Copeland. There's a ton of hype. He did those fucking squats. What's it fucking matter if it doesn't translate to the goddamn field? Like, what's it fucking matter? Like, the offensive line's my biggest concern as a unit, but you never know if they took a step forward. You don't know what's going on in the weight room. We're sitting around like, who's going to overtake this person? We don't fucking know. So that's my answer. None of us fucking know.
Blacksburg on the rocks, baby.
Blacksburg on the rocks.
Good answer. On the rocks, baby. That's a pretty good answer, but most of the time,
we saw Benji play, but yeah, nobody knows.
I was about to say, when you see somebody play for 6 years and they ain't blocked nobody for 6 years, and then they go to the spring game and somebody puts them in a blender every play, and then they get punched in the face in the first practice, they might not need to be the starter. I'm just saying. That's just my opinion.
We'll see. We will see.
Footage. We got the footage, bro.
There is documentation for some of these folks. Now
it's a new year.
It is a new year, and steps get taken. But
I hope you got room for stalkers over there at the pharmacy, because some of them linemen, if they don't fucking block, they gonna be overnight stocking for you. I'm telling you.
You need some new pharmacy techs?
It's coming.
I could use a few.
Well, it depends on how they play. I mean, who says that Jeremy will hire them?
That's true too.
They'll get a job
I'm
somewhere.
A spiteful fucking creature. I'm a very spiteful creature.
Yep, we know.
Yeah, I would hire you, but you missed that block against Miami. So
you just fucked it up.
No. Yeah, you remember what happened? You remember whenever Kyron got hit that hard? Yeah, no, I don't think so. No. I could see a few things with the offensive line. That's my biggest concern, but also it's hard to say in a lot of ways with the offensive line, because it's a unit that needs to be cohesive, and if there's one breakdown, everyone can look bad. It's hard with swapping in and out on the offensive line. But, of course, there are some people who very obviously miss blocks, and you've got to take care of it. But that unit, more than any other unit, I think is hard to gauge whenever you're just swapping in and out. But we'll see. That's my biggest concern, though, is the offensive line.
Yeah, when we look at the offensive side of the ball, that's definitely going to be the biggest concern. When we look at the depth that's returning, I mean, we're pretty much returning the entire skill position players, less, maybe Daquan Wright. It's going to be something of, does the offensive line look demonstrably better than they did last year? Do they do anything different? Are they nastier? That's kind of what I'm looking for. Or do we have a little bit more dog in us on the offensive line?
Yeah.
We started seeing some of that come to fruition as the season went on last year, because the start of the year, it was rough. Kyron came in. I think that he brought a little bit more mentality to that room, a little bit more leadership in terms of being a leader on the field, in terms of leading by example. And I think they fed off that energy a little bit, and we'll see if that kind of carried over into the offseason. We'll see if the coaches coached them up on that aspect of it as well.
He's also really fucking hard to tackle, so that makes their job a little easier. So he's going to make any offensive line's job just a little bit easier. But, yeah, they've got to step up this year, because we could have all these great skill positions. We could have Kyron out there just bombing it and just running, like trucking people, but what's it fucking matter if we can't block?
You can't be running drones the way you ran him last year.
No.
It's not sustainable.
And definitely not the way you ran him against Tulane in the bowl game, because that was
the weather.
I know the conditions impacted that a bunch. Yeah. You couldn't really sling it around very much, but he carried that load, but he ended up pulling it out for us. But Tally, what you got?
So I was just gonna kind of go to Vito and ask him. I know last time he was on, which, like I said, it was 2022. Y'all asked him a couple questions, and he talked about what game would he gauge the team by, and I think he went with ODU first, and a lot of people kind of shook their heads or didn't understand what he said. He had a couple of other ones in there, but ODU, which was really good answer. I think Dwight was the only one who kind of agreed, and maybe Jay Glock was like, I can kind of see that. But you were real high on that, Vito, when you talked about what team you would look at or what game you would look at and be like, okay, that lets me know what kind of team we got. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you again, kind of, what game in the first half of the season this year are you looking at where you're going to be like, hey, this set the expectation for the rest of the season?
Yeah, when I was on 2022, I think the question was, what's the biggest game of the year? That's probably what led to the laughing, because everybody was saying whoever they thought was our biggest opponent. And my logic was none of them games matter if we look like how we look versus ODU, which turned out to be true.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much what the question was. What were the biggest games? I think I said Liberty. We won that one. I said like Liberty, ODU, and somebody else.
You said North Carolina State as well.
I probably did. So
yeah,
that's my logic at the time was the Fuente era at the end, even versus the Richmonds and them. Game was a toss-up.
Right.
You even lost some of them. So I know the beginning of the Brent Pryor era was the Fuente. It was a lot of Fuente people and stuff involved. So now we treat a hoe like a hoe. Like we whooped ODU last year. So it ain't no ODU this year. It's Rutgers. Right. I don't helmet watch. Like I don't look at Rutgers and say Virginia Tech should beat Rutgers as a win. No, hell no. Rutgers smacked the shit out of us last year. So I would say Rutgers. Most Virginia Tech fans that's not tapped in probably think another dub, but hell no. Rutgers is well coached, physical, disciplined, don't do nothing to lose games. And that'll be the game. I think it's September the 21st or the 27th. You will know everything you need to know. If at home we get punched in the face and you see them fold, it'll be a long season. So Rutgers, that's my answer.
Yeah, then even go with that, you know what I'm saying? I mean, real good answer because not only that, even if you go out and you play a team like a Rutgers and you go out there and you have a physical game, because they're going to give you a physical game. You know what I'm saying? So that means your depth is going to have to come into play. You know what I'm saying? That means that people that's second and third in line is going to have to be ready to play because when you play a team like Rutgers, that's something you can feel the next week. And guess who you got the next week after you play Rutgers? Whether you win or lose that game, you got to go, and you got to go play Miami. You know what I'm saying? So, perfect answer. You know what I'm saying? It ain't no wrong answer, but that's a real good answer because Rutgers is one of those teams, again, if you just helmet watch or you just, take a look at the schedule and say, I know we're going to win all these games. Like, nah, man, Rutgers, a team like Rutgers, knowing their coach's background, knowing what they gave, like, I think they had 35 passing yards last year and beat us handily, like 35-16 or something. So
their quarterback and running back ran all over our ass last year.
I just remember whatever his name is, Kyle Manunga, whatever his name is, it was like a 3rd and 1, and he ran for like 52 yards. Like you're not supposed to be doing that. You know what I'm saying? On a 3rd and 1, like you're supposed to get that 2 yards, and then y'all run the next play. Nah, they out for blood. So the same way that people are
way too much.
Yeah, but the same way that some of us fans are looking at stuff and saying, these people are putting us as sleepers for ACC championship or sleepers for playoffs and stuff. I done looked at a lot of stuff and they got Rutgers on there too. They're like, oh, this is my sleeper team. So yeah, Rutgers is going to be a team to watch out for.
Yeah. I know a guy who he's a pharmacist. He went to Rutgers and big name in the pharmacy industry, and he has already been texting me talking shit about it. So they're feeling pretty fucking confident. Rutgers, I think Vito's right. I think that is going to be the biggest one. If we go and we handle that and we're undefeated rolling into Miami and Miami's still good, if we can be the team that knocks Miami off their peg, then I will think we're legit. If Miami's got a good season rolling, they've got all that talent, and it's actually clicking for them, and we're the team that comes down and smacks them in the mouth and shuts them the fuck up, that's when I know we're legit.
You got to handle business at Rutgers. But then, then go to – I mean, that 3-game stretch right there is – I mean, that's kind of coffin corner early in the season because then after Miami, you're flying across the country to California. And, I mean, Stanford, everyone wants to talk about they're not going to be a great team. Who cares? It's a 3-hour time difference. This is our first regular season game. We're playing in California. You don't know what that's going to do to us. So, Rutgers, Miami, Stanford, that's coffin corner.
Yeah, Stanford's going to be the interesting one because, I mean, on paper, that's a dub. But there's so many, factors that play into how that game can go down because of the travel. You never really played this opponent before. Not recently. The only other matchup that I can recall is against Andrew Luck in the bowl game. So I mean, it's basically a brand new opponent. You're coming off a physical Rutgers team and probably, at least on the front half of the schedule, the best most talented team that you'll play in Miami, taking that trip. So even if you come out good on those two, it's a prime setup for a letdown game.
Right.
So,
But listen,
those are going to be the interesting ones there.
Now, listen, this is not a question that is on anything. I just want to throw this out because I got you fine gentlemen on here. We mentioned a couple of schools. We mentioned Rutgers, Miami, Stanford. I know a lot of y'all go to games and have seen games or, even look at games on TV. So I'm going to ask this question. Out of the people that we play, who has the best looking fan base? Whether you like men or women, I'm not no judge. I'm just saying, who do
Dan,
we play that has the best looking fan base? Dan, you got to go, man.
Yeah, of course it's going to be Dan.
Come on, Dan. Don't be scared.
Wholesome Dan, lead off, bitch.
Yeah. Who got the out of the opponents?
Marshall, right?
Who we play, man? I said men or women.
Hey, no, Marshall got some sneaky. Marshall got some sneaky ones, but I mean, people probably want you to say Miami,
right?
But I don't know if it's really Miami. Like who could? I don't know. I'm sure Stanford's got some really nice girls.
Dan, you gotta pick one, man. I said one. We're trying to move quick. Pick one team. You want us to come back to you?
Yeah, I mean that's fine.
You can't do that,
Grayson.
Dan.
Grayson, who got the?
You know what? I like that answer. Selfishly, it's I would say Clemson. Southern girls, man, they're beautiful. Shout out to the Clemson Tigers.
Grayson,
Shout out
you have a conflicting relationship with that Clemson fan base.
Hey, man, we'll get into that.
Fuck Clemson.
Hey, listen, Jeremy, not
it's
yet.
It's gonna be SMU
the girls down at Clemson have never done one thing wrong to me. All right,
Dan said Tech girls are different.
All right, we'll talk about that. All right,
Vito, what you got to say, man?
Stanford made an All-American linebacker crash out for an invisible chick. All-American. He could have smashed anything in the country. It's easily Stanford.
I wasn't expecting that, but that's actually pretty good answer.
Go ahead and shut it down. Go ahead and shut it down.
Well, I mean, we gotta ask Jeremy just because he here. Jeremy, come on, give us an answer. What you got to say?
All them fucks are ugly. Are you serious? We're playing them. What do I fucking care what they look like? Fuck all them. God. Man, I give a shit about us winning. I don't give a shit what their fan base looks like. They're all shitty to me. Fuck, I want to win.
So none of them look good in Jeremy's eyes.
Hey, that's a happily married man right there.
That's
loyal
right.
to his
hey,
wife.
That's a good answer.
Emily's hot as shit. I don't give a fuck about these girls that are going to these games. Don't know shit about fuck. Fuck them.
Yikes.
well, Jeremy, listen, that's good, man. I'm glad we got you riled up because I got one that I got to ask you. This is specific to you. So you came right in on time. We know that you're right in the middle of Blacksburg. Thank you for your service. You're over there at the pharmacy doing your thing. Don't pop another one just yet. Slow down. But anyway, we know that you're in there every day. We know you're getting the vibes in Blacksburg every day. Us as fans, we get the preseason hype or hopium every year. Every year we say, this is it. We gonna be good this year, or so if this person take this step. So my question to you is, we getting some hype this year, and what do you feel like do you feel it's true hype vibes around Blacksburg, or do you feel like it's we gaslight? How's it been in Blacksburg?
I will tell you why it's real hype vibes. Because people are scared that the hype is this much. Normally during this time, I've got people coming in, they're buying in so much to all the talk, the preseason talk, all the hype. They're really high on the hopium, and they're coming in and they're talking about it, and they're really up. Now I get that, but there's like this level of seriousness to it. Like, are we seriously going to do this? Like, I think it makes sense in my brain, but I've been hurt before. There's like this level of seriousness to the conversation that hasn't been there for a while. So people are hyped, and they are legitimately hyped. Like, it's making sense to them logically. It's not just all emotional. And they're kind of reconciling that and bringing it out, and they don't know how to feel about it because we've been hurt so many times. That's how I know it's real.
I kind of came up with that.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, that's where I kind of came up with that from is because I can remember like one of the things that sticks out to me is like when we had David Wilson and ESPN came and they was following him around, showing his car and kind of what he was doing on his day to day. Like that's not manufactured. That's not fake hype. You know what I'm saying? Like that was real national hype. I've been seeing Kyron out with Sanders and Ward, and they've been, working out all off season. And then you see the receivers working out with them as well. And then you see these people that's starting to come in and, want to interview and want to see kind of what our stars look like and, what they have outside of just playing. So I feel like that hype was real too. But again, I'm not there in Blacksburg. So I did kind of want to ask you, what I'm saying, how you felt about it. Anybody else got anything to add on that?
It's full on that, and then it's a follow-up with, do you think the offensive line will hold up? So, yes, there are concerns, and it's normally the offensive line.
Yep.
Right.
That checks. Let's throw one out since we're talking about kind of the players and the process. I think the big thing that we've seen with this staff since they came in, when we talk about the vibes and just the feeling around, is that, we got a renewed commitment to focusing on recruiting the state of Virginia, the footprint in general with the state of Virginia in particular. And most of you guys that are on the panel have Virginia roots, right? So has this renewed focus on the state of Virginia made y'all more invested in the recruiting process? And Vito, let's lead off with you on this one.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm always invested in the recruiting process. I always said recruiting got to make sense. You can't just throw darts at a map and just say, hey. I'm not even a stars person. A lot of people think I'm a stars person because I'm a 757 person. I'm not. Just talent is talent. Like you don't need to watch hours of film to know if somebody can play or not. So if the recruitment makes sense and it's within the footprint, it all makes sense to me.
Nice. Jeremy, what you got?
See, I'm kind of conflicted on this because I want us to have those great relationships in state. I want us to go to these high schools and I want to bring our kids in, and I want us to, if there is a quality player in this state, I want them to go to VT because that is the school that you go to if you're a football player in Virginia. That being said, I don't give two fucking fucks where we get our players from. I just want to win. I don't give a shit if Texas to VT worked and it was actually a fucking thing. I wouldn't care as long as we were winning. But yes, on another level, I think it's really good that we make these inroads because I want us to get good players and I don't want them to have to leave because we should have that pipeline, and that pipeline's fucking important. That's why I care. In the grand scheme of things, on like an emotional level, I don't give a shit. On an intellectual level, I don't give a shit. Except for the fact that we need those pipelines.
Hey, Grayson, before you go, are you counting the fucks that are going on at this point? You got a little tally sheet.
Am I counting them?
Yeah. I'm going to designate you.
We got about 20 right now, anywhere between 20 and 25. If we don't get to 50 by the end of segment 1, we're doing something wrong.
I'm going to get another postcard again. I'm going to get another postcard telling me to not sponsor this podcast because it curses too much, because I was the one cursing on the podcast and that person didn't realize it.
That's what it's about. All right, lean in, Germ. The answer to this question is 1,000,000%. Yes, I've started caring more because, listen, y'all, I don't know if you heard recently, Coach Pride came out and he was talking about how when he was at Penn State, that staff under James Franklin, when he was DC, they knew that any kid from the Commonwealth of Virginia, they could handpick, and they would get him because the previous regime, they just how do I say this nicely? Didn't do a good job. Didn't give a fuck. Pardon my French. I don't cuss on podcasts a lot, but they didn't give a fuck. So now you have 3 of the top 15 kids in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and Fontel Mines is out here cooking with Jim Cavanaugh's grill seasoning. Yeah, you bet your ass I care. That means something to me. Sorry
that
for
was beautifully put. That was beautifully put.
Yeah.
Dan, what you got?
I care.
I mean, if we're being honest, the fact that we even have to think about this shit is crazy. Like, we should just recruit Virginia. Like, it should have always just been like, hey, you coach Virginia Tech, you fucking recruit Virginia. Like, that's it. Like, we shouldn't even be like, man, I'm really glad we're back in Virginia now. Like, we should have just always been here.
You know, that state that
obviously,
the school resides in, we're recruiting the fuck out of it now.
Yeah, like I like the fact that we're doing it. I think the fact that we recruit Virginia also coincides with the fact that I have my own goddamn podcast, and I mean, content is content. So if you keep up with recruiting, you have shit to talk about when there's nothing going on. So I think, like, hey, it goes hand in hand. But yeah, I'm definitely way more invested, probably, than I should be, to be honest. But yeah.
All right, so I think we've held our load in long enough. We're gonna get to this question. I know everyone here is excited about it. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves with predictions yet. But looking at that Clemson game in November, what's the over-under on how many times Jeremy yells at Dabo to fuck himself with a new spring hymnal on November 9th?
Whatever it is, hammer the over. Whatever it
Please,
is.
Hammer.
I don't know what y'all talking about. I am a sweet, innocent Jeremy. And in the stands, now I shout very nice insults to the refs now because I offended a lot of old people in the West stand. So I moved to the East stands because I offended so many old people in the West stands. And it's just a better environment for me. But I still watch it now. Now I yell that the referee's wife has overcooked chicken and people are snickering about it behind her back. Now I yell that the referee's mother is actually not all that pretty. I don't scream obscenities at ball games anymore. That's fucking
has a child.
I am doing better. Because I've embarrassed Emily before by
fatherhood
screaming, "Suck my dick! I'll murder your family" over and over again.
Do we genuinely
all
not
of these
like
elderly people around me?
So do we genuinely not like Clemson, or do we just not like them because they win? Like, why don't we like Clemson? I
fucking hate Clemson. No.
Why?
No, you got to understand what it was like during that ball game where they came to fucking Blacksburg, and it's like everything shifted. Everything shifted. They were suddenly the team to beat, and it stayed that way. They rolled into Blacksburg, and they fucking had our number, and ever since then, it's been that way. Just because they're winning, I don't give a fuck. They could not have national champions. They could not have this or that. They could not have a terrible goddamn entrance that everyone hypes up. They could not have stupid fucking fans, and half of them are just fucking bandwagon-ass fucking fans. They could not have some of the dumbest fucking goddamn people on earth. They could not have a charlatan head coach that uses pseudo-religion as a fucking recruitment model. They could not have all of those things, and I'd still fucking hate them because they were the team that beat us at that point where everything felt like it shifted. So fuck them. I will fucking hate them, and I don't have to put fucking words on it, labels on it. I don't have to do anything. I can just fucking feel my emotions.
I have something
that's
to
how I
say.
feel about Clemson.
I have something
Go
to say.
ahead. You
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Y'all know it.
I know
Anyone
I
who
was
follows
gonna
me
get
on Twitter knows how I feel about the Tigers. Let me just say this really quickly. In the off chance that this man is listening right now, the ACC Network and Eric McLean were in Blacksburg this week. Eric, I got nothing but respect for you. I think you're the man, the way you kind of put on for Virginia Tech. I think you like what we got going on. So respect to Eric. Eric makes Clemson kind of hard to hate. His head ball coach, on the other hand, to Jeremy's point, makes it very easy. I will never be able to prove the new spring money laundering. And I know that I drive Hokie fans crazy with that.
You can't audit a church. That's why it's so fucking genius. And that's why he's so mad that he doesn't have the best game anymore because we got NIL. He can't do that anymore.
Jeremy, what does God's NIL stand for? New Spring isn't liable? Is that what that stands for? Because, like, before NIL was in place, God's NIL, how did Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne show up in 2020 with Louis Vuitton bags and $1,000 top coats? Hey, listen, you don't make that money working at the campus bookstore. Where does it come from? Maybe an offering plate. And the pastor loves to shake hands with the congregation when those guys are there on Sundays. So my problem with Dabo is he preaches this gospel, but if that was really actually going on under the table, I hate you. Like
Yes.
you're not the guy you say you are. So
he's the worst kind of con man. He's a con man that uses fucking religion to get money out of people's pockets. He's the worst kind of fucking person. And Dabo, if you ever hear this, fuck you.
To finish my point,
Yep.
finish real quick, just in summation, gentlemen. I also share the sentiment with Jeremy. We ruled the roost. The road to the ACC went through Blacksburg for so long, and then finally there was that shift where they took over and they ruled the roost for way too long, to the point where it became annoying. And now I'm like, dude, we're done with you. Well, Hokies are back up. Let's go. And that's how everyone else should feel. So I'm done. End of that rant.
All right, Tally, what you got for him?
I was just going, hey, man, they just gave me a lot. I just was going to ask Vito, did he have anybody that he hate like that? I mean, because I ain't got that much hatred for nobody. So I was going to ask Vito, did he have anybody he hate like that?
I don't hate Clemson, bro. I don't get mad, bro. I get money. We want what they got. So why would I hate? Like, you become what you hate. So why would I hate Clemson? We want to be Clemson. Nobody on the Clemson podcast is doing a segment about Virginia Tech right now.
Fair.
Is there any fan base?
Somebody did today. They put it out. They were like, "Oh, Virginia Tech might upset us." So, I mean,
Did they
No,
say how
they
much they hate
actually
us
talk
and-
about our shit all the time. They get so fucking worked up over it because
How
we
about how
were
much they hate
there
VT?
before they were. Yes, we were there before they were there. They hate any mention of us being even close to legitimate again. They can't fucking stand it. On top of that, if you start talking entrances, they get their fucking panties in such a wad, they cannot handle it. It is incredible. Yeah, they talk about us a lot.
Fuck them people. Fuck them
Speaking-
people. Don't worry about them.
Hey, so
We gonna,
that's a
yeah,
whole.
like we play, like we get to settle it on the field. So
Yeah,
we can hate
so-
them all we want. Like we gotta play them.
I was gonna say, man, we gonna see them. They coming to the house this year, so that's gonna be, you know what I'm saying, all hands on deck. We need to go out there and do what we got to do, and show them that we back. If that's what it is. Speaking of that, I just asked this question because we was kind of tipping around. What number, or if blank improves, the Hokies will win 10 games. So what room needs to improve for us to win 10 games?
Duh. Offensive line. Our skill positions could be just flat this next year. And if the offensive line improves, we win 10 games.
Yeah, that's the answer to the question. We have depth at every position on the team except offensive line. And as the season progresses, y'all, it's only going to get more difficult. As you get into the meat and potatoes of our schedule, and all things considered, we have an easy schedule. We play Clemson, that we just talked about, on November 9th. If you don't go into that game in Lane Stadium with a healthy, cohesive offensive line, their defensive line is going to eat our lunch. And so it's just what it is. They get great defensive linemen. And it's not just them. Dude, even Rutgers. Like, you have to build that chemistry, and they have to stay healthy. You got it at receiver, running back, QB. You got it at linebacker, defensive back, every defensive line. You got it everywhere except the offensive line.
Dan, what you say?
Defensive line can't stop the run. I don't give a shit about weightlifting records. You got to stop the run.
Yep.
Our DBs are good. Make them pass the ball. Get some picks, pick sixes, short field. Can't stop the run. Doesn't really matter. You're playing from behind the whole time.
Dan, are you saying that you're concerned with the defensive line? Because that's one of the units I was the least concerned about.
No, I'm saying,
No.
like, it looks good right now, but it's got to show up.
Yeah, that's true. We don't know shit.
And that's what
until
we
it's
said.
actually
Just
on the
that
field.
the question was, what room needed to improve for us to get to the 10? Like,
It
so
improved
Vito
on paper
again, right?
a lot.
But on the field,
Yeah.
Yeah. You can
what's
squat
the-
680 pounds, but we need to stop the run. You see what I'm saying? Got to
Yeah,
happen.
no, that makes sense.
I'll go away from everybody else, and I'll just say quarterbacks. Okay, at this point, everybody knows Kyron Jones is a dual threat quarterback. Everybody knows that. Our ops know it. We know it. So at this point, if Kyron Jones can up his game to another level, then we'll win the 10, even with offensive line problems.
Yeah. It's true.
Well, that's the thing is, even if they know him as he's a dual threat quarterback, that's the great thing about Kyron. He's a fucking tank. And we shouldn't rely on that too much. I don't want what happened to Gerard to happen to him, that where he's just getting beat up so much. I don't want that to happen. But the great thing is if something breaks down, we can at least rely on him to get something done, because he's just so hard to bring down. And they can game plan for it as much as you can, but good luck fucking stopping it when he's got a good, like a full head of steam coming at him.
Yeah.
This season makes me think, y'all, of like the 2009-2010 team with Tyrod Taylor, where those offensive lines, all things considered, were not that good, but the superior talent around Tyrod Taylor and on those defenses, at that point, it didn't really matter. You know, we were still winning games because of just Jarrett Boykin and Danny Cole and Ryan Williams and Darren Evans in 2009. But like you didn't really have to think about it.
Yeah,
And
since
our
we're talking
best
about
plays
dudes,
were plays that broke down. That's what, like, if you remember during that time period, it wasn't like these awesome design plays where Tyrod showed up. They were plays that just full on broke down, and we won with our straight up fucking athleticism. Tyrod would pull some shit and just fling it, and things would happen. He would evade so many people. It wasn't like this great design. We were, for the longest time, I feel like, coasting on having superior athletes and things like Tyrod. And I think we're really coming a long way as far as putting a good game design together, getting the right people into a system, because I loved what we were doing under Frank, but there was always talk on what we were doing offensively, because a lot of times we didn't have the greatest game plan. And of course, back then it was a little more, you're on the edge of the unknown at that point with what you do with dual threat quarterbacks.
Yep.
We didn't have a lot of proof of concept even in the Tyrod days. We definitely didn't have it in the Vick days. He revolutionized the entire game. But now you can game plan for them, and you can actually put this offenses around, especially with the RPO system. But it's hard with someone like Drones to stop that when it's coming down. And it's good to have that again, but we can't have that wear and tear on them. We can't have it. That's why the offensive line's so important, because we can't have him get beat up. And as much as I loved back then, whenever Tyrod make all these awesome plays by evading everyone, Drones isn't going to be able to do that. He's going to be taking hits whenever those plays break down. That's why it's different. And we can have a ton of great athletes, but he's still going to be taking these hits, and we need to limit those hits, because it's not like back then because of that. He's big, he's elusive, but he doesn't have that quickness that Tyrod had.
Well, that's why I think what Vito said. Yeah, I think that's why what Vito said makes so much sense, because even when you do have a bad offensive line, it ain't just like he had a bad offensive line last year. He was still making the throws. He was still evading people. He was still scoring. So, yeah, we don't want him to take those hits, because we want him to be healthy, and we want him to up his stock so he can go to the NFL. So if he ups his game, like Vito, Vito's here, he can speak for himself. But like he said,
what I mean by up his game, I don't mean by doing more of the same shit. I mean by making more reads, getting the ball out better, getting the ball out accurately, progressing as a passer, not running more or running over people.
Yeah, hit his windows.
He hit his windows, man. He hit a couple of the passes that we missed. Got a little bit better options out there. Not options, but a little bit more experience. Allie coming back, man. You just never know what happens. So I was thinking more like linebacker for that answer, but that's actually a pretty good answer what Vito came. I mean, everybody's answer was good. No wrong answer there. What I'm hearing, though, is we got some good stuff going. We just need everybody to stay healthy and keep moving forward. Brian, what you got for us?
Yeah, I think we're going to kind of wrap up this segment with this one. So we had lots of positive things happen this offseason. You got new uniform release. You got Fan Appreciation Day just went down. We got to play as the Hokies in College Football 25, something we haven't done in over a decade. And of course, there's been a lot of cool content coming out of Hokie Nation, interviews with coaches, interviews with players, all that fun stuff. Recruiting's on a nice little trend up, even though we hit a little roadblock here the last, couple weeks. I'm going to pitch this to Dan first. I'm going to let everybody get in on this. What's been the thing that's got you the most hype for the 2024 season?
Probably the expectation. See how they handle it. Normally when we get hype, we're hyped up. The Hokie way is to lose a really dumb game. Whether it's like not Boise State necessarily, JMU, ECU, Syracuse, and the Dome, which we're going there this year, so that'd be nice to stop that. Matt Ryan at home in the rain cost us probably a potential chance to go to the national championship. I'm hyped to see, the depth at multiple positions, and I guess what I'm looking forward to is to see how they all handle expectation.
All right.
Because last year there wasn't any. We were terrible coming off 3-8. Like, it was kind of whatever. And then we started out bad, and then something happened, and we caught fire. We ended up winning a bowl game. So, but this year, especially with the, addition of college football 25, everybody using the Hokies, Josh Pate beating the drum, all these people like him, like media people beating the drum, Herb Street, Fowler, hyped about Virginia Tech again, to see how they focus in and drown out the noise. I'm interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm pumped about that because I think it's funny. A lot of these national guys, they like to see when Virginia Tech's doing well. Like you see that a lot. Like people talk about college football is better when Virginia Tech's doing well. So I'm excited to see what that's about. Grayson, what do you got?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the palpable excitement, I would say the most in 14 years for a Virginia Tech football team returning off of an off season. Everyone's talking about drones and whatnot. One, the new uniforms, that's huge. But then the duo of Dorian Strong and Mansour Delane, and seeing how those two play this season, Virginia Tech is always in the DBU question, but I've talked to multiple people about this. Brian, we've chatted about it.
Yep.
Those two, I firmly believe, and this might be a hot take, it might not, by the time this season is done, I think have the potential to be as good or if not better of a duo than Brandon Flowers and Macho Harris. Up there. That's saying a lot.
That's rarefied.
In 2007, Macho and Brandon both had 5 interceptions each. Let's see if Delane and Strong can outdo that. I would love to see that. And Brandon Flowers and Macho Harris, those are my guys. 2 of my favorite Virginia Tech players of all time. But I want to see those 2 guys eat this year. A couple of pick sixes too.
Vito, what you got?
As far as my excitement for the season upcoming, it's just what I do. I've been covering this team. I've been covering Virginia Tech. I've been a content creator since 2009. So it's just what I do. I cover the Hokies. I talk shit. Whether we win or lose, I'm going to be on Twitter talking shit. I'm going to be podding talking shit. That's what I do. It's in me, not on me.
There we go. Jeremy, what about you? What you got?
Proof of concept. It's the same reason we were all trying to get ourselves all fucking jacked up and circle jerking the living shit out of each other till we were raw and bleeding all over our underwear back in the foo days, because we were just like, oh no, he's got his own guys. We're going to prove exactly what he was trying to do. Oh, great. And then it fell straight on its fucking face. So right now, to me, I love everyone being excited. I love all the hype we're getting. I love all of it. I love the position groups mostly. I love all of it. But it's proof of fucking concept. And if we can come out and we smack people in the mouth that we need to, and if we can come out and we can show that the systems that we're putting together are clicking, and we have a cohesive fucking game plan and we come out and we fucking execute and we've got a goddamn program again, you show me that and I'm on fucking board. I don't even care if we lose a few games over something that happens. Shit happens in football. It's fucking football. But you show me you've got an actual plan. You show me that you're putting this program back on the map and we're on the right path. You show me that, I'm going to be fucking happy. That's what I'm excited about. That's what I'm psyched for.
Hell yes.
You can't get no better than that, I guess. But what I'll throw in and to end this segment with what I have to say is I guess my hype for 2014 is draft expectations. Because if we get, I don't know what the number is, but we'll say 7. If we get 7 people drafted, that means we had a pretty good year. That means some people took a step and, you know what I'm saying, we did what we were supposed to do, and we got 6, 7, 8 people going to the league to represent Virginia Tech. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to see people leaving and transferring and going somewhere else and walking across the stage and saying such and such quarterback from Tennessee. I don't want that to happen no more. I want them to say from Virginia Tech and call some names. So that's what I'm going to be looking for. That's what I'm excited for, because we got the talent there. I just, you know, and hoping these young men and praying these young men can, you know, go out, have a healthy year and play to their capability so we can see them walk across that stage, because I know that's a lifelong dream for them. And it also, you know, like I said, it makes our program better. So that's what I add to it.
Way to put a bow on it, Tally. I appreciate that. And that's going to wrap up this first segment of the 2024 Hokies preview panel. Want to thank Dan, Grayson, Vito, Jeremy taking the time with us tonight, having a little fun, saying fuck a lot. You know, I think we did. I think we hit our quota. We'll see if the other guys in the back half 2 segments try to match you. It's a high bar, Jeremy. It's a high bar.
Yeah,
I'm just
definitely
a sweet
high bar,
little Jeremy.
Definitely a high bar, man. We appreciate all y'all jumping on. Everybody who watching, please check these gentlemen out. They put a lot of work into the different things they do on Twitter, but also their content creations. Don V, formerly Don V Fridays, VT4L. Know y'all go give a listen. One of my favorite listens throughout the week. Jeremy just started him a new podcast. Is Blacksburg's on the Rocks. On the Rocks, he's not talking about rocks outside. He's talking about alcohol being poured over ice. You don't got to tell us about it right now. Grayson, we're going to pull him back in, let him start podcasting with us as well. One day, we're going to get him back. Dan, still doing this thing over there at TerrorDome, interviewing every day, getting people from 10 years ago, 30 years ago. Keep doing what you're doing. We appreciate all you guys. Like I said, everybody lock in, check each other out, follow everybody and all that good stuff, man, so we can go to Nashville and do what we got to do.
Yep. And
thank y'all for having me.
Thanks, guys. Go
Appreciate
Hokie.
it, guys. And we're going to go ahead and take a little pause from our sponsor here, and he's in the top right here, so check this out.
I can probably save you a lot of money, and I can take a lot better care of you. That's pretty much it. My name is Jeremy Counts, and I'm a pharmacist. I own and operate Main Street Pharmacy here in downtown Blacksburg. My brother's a pharmacist, I'm a pharmacist, my uncle's a pharmacist, my dad's a pharmacist. I remember he would give me M&Ms to count in little pill counters. It's just something I've always done, and I'm just lucky that what I know so well is something that I can do and feel good about it and give back to people. Pharmacies are your frontline defense. Pharmacy's job is to make sure you're getting optimal care for the lowest price possible. Also, we take the pressure off of emergency rooms. I'll tell people immediately when they need to go to the doctor, or I'll tell them if they just need a cream over the counter. If there's something that isn't commercially available, if it's something that's not available in a certain strength or a certain form or anything like that, we'll make it. Tailor-made medications. Some of those options save people a lot of money. What motivates me? I get to take care of people and live in Blacksburg. That's all I need.
I'm 32, juggling family, working full-time, and earning a bachelor's degree. At University of Phoenix, I earn career-relevant skills with every 5-week course. Skills I can use now, not just after graduation.
Earn skills in weeks, not years. Visit phoenix.edu.
Breathe deep. Imagine your legs more limber in Duluth Trading Double Flex Denim. Envision euphorically squatting for that can of suds. Bending for your toolbox in a state of bliss. plunging for your laser level on a whole new level. Relax and allow the flex to fill you with ability. Find your inner flex in Double Flex Denim only at Duluth Trading.
All righty, and we are back. Well, me and Shelton are back, and Brian and Tally have got into the green room, chill for a little while here. But we're going to get segment 2 popped up here, and we're calling this Hokie Hype by the Numbers. And we've got some great guests. We've got some more stuff to talk about. I'm going to just go ahead and say it. We're going to be under on the F-bombs this segment. Not even a doubt about it. What do you think, Sheldon?
Yeah, it's going to be hard to top that previous segment. I know so we got some, I would say, enigmatic personalities, some exuberant faces and voices in that group one. But hopefully we can keep the ball rolling and have a good segment too.
Absolutely. We're going to keep it rolling with 4 guests who have been on with us before, and we are enjoying having them back tonight. Going to start out here, man, in Blacksburg himself, from Tech Sideline, David Cunningham. Hey, David, how you doing tonight?
I'm all right, man. Thanks. Yeah, I don't think I will be able to meet the Jeremy F-bomb quota, unfortunately. But I will write this off as work.
There you go. Write it off.
This is what I do for. I mean, this is what I do for a living, and I got some professionalism to keep. Luckily, Jeremy is not. Jeremy and Main Street Pharmacy are 2 separate entities, so that's good. Me. I basically Tech Sideline all the time, so it's going to be hard for me to separate it.
Very nice. All right, next here, he is a host with Dwight Vick at the VT for Life. Also, Danny, I don't know if you're still doing this or not because I haven't talked to you in a while. Are you still hosting up in D.C.?
Whenever they give me the call, Curtis, it's great to be here. I'm wondering if this is now the most anticipated event of the Hokie offseason, the Hokies preview panel with everyone that comes in here every single year. You guys do a great job, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Well, Danny, we enjoy having you back this year, man. Always good to see you. Always good to talk with you. Next, our buddy from over at Too Deep, Pete B. Pete, what do you say tonight, man?
What's going on, fellas? How you doing?
How'd you like the first segment?
Oh,
you were on that last year.
Oh, I know. And you know what? It's funny. Like after watching that and then seeing the Main Street Pharmacy commercial and the dichotomy between the two, that was really, it just made me crack up. And I just want to say F you too, and to each and every one of you on the panel here with me now. It's cool because I never got a chance to really talk to DC or Danny before, so this is awesome.
Love it. All righty. So lastly, who we've got coming back with us, if you watch this show, y'all know the next guy we have on basically are lifelong friends of Brian and ours. He is also a high school football coach down in the state of North Carolina. He is fresh out from camp today. Our buddy, Coach Robbie Compton. Robbie, what's going on, brother?
Watch out, Jeremy. Here I come, buddy.
Oh, that's awesome. Robbie, how's camp going, man?
I'm a teacher, too. I keep this on my desk, and I just throw it at people every now and then because I can't use the word.
Love it.
Things are good, man. We got brand new turf field. We're trying to get used to the heat of practicing on and just trying to push through some things, try to get better every day. So.
Love to hear it, man. Love to hear it. So, y'all, I want to kind of start it this way because I need everybody to close their eyes for a second and picture this. It's roughly 320 days ago. It's nighttime. It's Lane Stadium, and we're about to kick off against Pitt. If I threw a Franklin on each of y'all's desks, wherever you're sitting, handed to you and said $100, 2024 preseason, the Hokies are going to be considered a top 25 team. Kyron Jones is a dark horse for the Heisman. People are talking about winning the ACC, going to the playoff. Would you have taken that bet? And now how do you justify it? David?
Yeah, I was you think about the spot that they were in. No, I mean, it would have been none of those. I don't think anybody really thought those things were possible. I think a lot of people in the program didn't really see it, right? It's also one of those things where it does. You don't really think it can maybe be accomplished until it happens. But I mean, at that point, Virginia Tech is sitting at 1-3, right? Virginia Tech is just coming off a loss at Marshall. Like, that's a team that Virginia Tech beat on the ground early in the game and just decided to stop running the ball. Like, you get to a point where I think everybody kind of just threw their hands up and said, what is going on? And Curtis, if you had told me that, if you had said, yeah, I'll give you $100, like, I'm no way. I don't think anybody's taking that, just because at that point we had not seen how dynamic for a long period of time Kyron Drones was. We saw Bashal Tutin's ability in spurts. I don't think the defense had really played up to par. The run fits were terrible. Like, there were a lot of things that went wrong, and credit to the staff, they turned things around. And it's kind of crazy. We're sitting here, middle of August, and this is a team that has high expectations.
Danny, what about you, man? Would you have taken the bet with me?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And it's real simple for me, guys, because I remember talking about the state of this team at that moment in time with Dwight and Mike Vick on our podcast last year. And at that point in the season, we hadn't seen the coaching staff figure out how to make adjustments, not even from game to game, but within the game, whatever it came down to. We hadn't really seen them put together a full performance from the top, with the coaching staff down to the players going out and executing. Now, Kyron Drones ends up coming in and really starts to, cement himself, not just as a starter, but as a star pretty early on. And that Pitt game was definitely one of those early showings of that. But would I have taken the bet at 1-3 going into that Pitt game that they'd be sitting in this position right now? Absolutely not. Even though I did have a good bit of confidence that they were going to go out and beat Pitt that night. It just we hadn't had any tangible proof that they could put everything together at that point.
All righty. Pete?
Yeah, getting to 6-6 after those first 4 games felt impossible. And I remember listening to David and the TSL guys talk about it and how many more games would we win last year. And I would say that I was a little bit less panicked than most, but nevertheless, I was thinking, okay, maybe 3 again. Maybe we'll get to 3 wins. Like, we were playing so un-Hokie-like in terms of a historic sense. And that Pitt game did turn things around. And Pitt is a team that has given us problems over the years. And so if you lose that game and then you lose to Florida State, like, it could have really unraveled, but it didn't. And I'm so grateful we're in the position we are now, because it makes this preview a lot more fun.
Absolutely. Robbie, what about you, man? You had seen the team that spring, you'd seen Drones, and then they're 1-3. What did you think? Would you have taken the money from me?
If any of you know my online gambling habits, you would say, this idiot's going to take this. I can't. It's a parlay to me. You just listed off too many things for me to take. And I was like, yeah, surely I'm going to take that bet. And I'm going to lose on 1 by a point. Damn LeBron James. No, there's, I have some pretty good professional relationships with some of those coaches there. I've been in some meeting rooms and some things with several of those coaches before they got to Blacksburg, things like that. I knew where they were headed and what they were going to try to do. I just wasn't sure how long it was going to take. So in my mind, to say a year from now, it would have been hard to say that. To see them build to what they have in this quick of a time, I think is pretty impressive. If you'd have given me 2025, I'd probably leaned a little more, but 2024 seemed a little crazy at that point in time. But I'm excited about what they put together and where they're headed. And all in all, no, I don't think I would have taken that 320 days ago.
Sheldon, what about you, man? I know we've talked about this a little bit, but
yeah, it was man, it seemed like it turned on a dime. I mean, you're coming off that loss to Marshall. I think everyone collectively is kind of questioning, the process and where the program is headed, at least externally. I don't think internally it seemed like they kind of had their heads on straight. But I think it's a testament to Brent Pry that he kind of kept things going and, kept everyone focused. There was no, finger pointing or infighting or internal division. And I think that's a testament to the culture that he built, that they could just, they went through some adversity, they came back from it, and they got better week by week. We saw Kyron Drones progress throughout the course of the season. And they ended up going 7-6. So I think it's just a remarkable progression there. So continuing on, speaking of Brent Pry, he has been mining the transfer portal this offseason, as he has done a lot. And Pry said before that he wants to build this program on the backs of high school recruiting and sort of use the portal to supplements. So I'll ask this, qualify by excluding Aeneas Peebles, because I think he was sort of the consensus big-time get out of the portal this past year. Who do you guys see being the biggest transfer impact, the biggest impact player among a transfer class this year? We'll start with Pete.
I think it's going to be Brumfield, if you ask me. I mean, yes, Peoples would be a great choice, but with the depth across the D line, who knows how much of an impact that he might have relative to what Brumfield could do. If you think about the problems we had at middle linebacker last year and the tackling issues in general, and the fact that, he had 81 tackles for Middle Tennessee State, that would have led us last year. I know it's different teams, whatever. 2 years ago, our leading tackler had 82 tackles. So this is the kind of impact, the guy who in Brumfield, who was still coming into his own last year on a G5. He's had another seasoning, better coaching now, playing for a power school. And I just feel like if he can steady that middle linebacking core, and we can even get a Dax level when Dax was playing his senior year, like that could be a monumental change. So I'm going to go with Brumfield.
Yeah, definitely doing a lot for that linebacker core there. Danny, biggest impact transfer.
I love what Pete said, because I think Brumfield needs to have the biggest year of the guys that are coming in from the transfer portal, because that is the weakest position on the defense and where they're going to need the most help. Who I think it'll actually end up being, though, is Peebles. And I know that's really but most of what all of us probably think to some degree, but I've been hype on him since the word got out. I think he's a great player. I think he's got all the physical tools to be dominant. And the reality is, if he plays well, he's going to help Brumfield and the inside linebackers out. Your interior defensive line plays well. It just makes everybody's life behind them easier. Not just the passing coverage, which Virginia Tech's obviously got strong pass defense, but being able to defend the run, they can really be a well-rounded unit, and it all starts up front.
You feeling the love for Sam Brumfield?
I mean, here's the thing. There aren't too many guys to choose from because Virginia Tech returned so many. It's a tough question. Those are the top two answers, and I think both of those guys will have the two biggest impacts. I think I would probably it's tough. I think Peebles will probably have the biggest impact. I think Brumfield is the most needed. But just for sake of this argument, I think Montavious Cunningham is going to he's going to play an interesting role. He might not win the job, and right now he is not playing with the ones in practice at right guard. It's Bob Schick, but he's somebody who had gotten consistent reps at his previous institution. He's somebody who has experience, and what Ron Crook has slowly done with that room, he's transformed it into a room that last year could barely go 6 deep, now can go way, way deeper. And I think Cunningham is a big piece of that. Injuries are part of football. At some point, some of those guys are going to have to play. Montavious Cunningham is going to have an impact. And the fact that Virginia Tech has a guy like that with that kind of experience, even if it was at Georgia State, having somebody with that experience over, say, a freshman or a redshirt freshman or a sophomore in that role is crucial, I think. And so Brumfield and Peebles, I think they're the top two options, but I think you can't really overlook Cunningham because, again, he might not start, but he will have an impact in some capacity.
All right, Robbie, we got a vote for Montavious Cunningham, a couple for Brumfield, one for Peebles. Who do you think is going to have the biggest impact on the transfer class this year?
In my opinion, I think a lot of it's going to come. We sat at the end of last season looking at what are we going to do with the defensive line? Where are we going to get depth? And there's 3 added right there on the defensive line, I think, from the transfer portal in Perry, Gillum, and Copeland, who came in and they provide a future at that position. And I think that's a big thing. People's coming in is going to be amazing. I think he's going to be the star of that defensive front. I think he's going to really give a lot of things. I mean, he's shown it several years at Duke. He's going to help tremendously. But just the fact that we've got the depth and those three guys coming in, it's hard for me to pick just one, but that room getting better that much quicker, I think, is going to add a lot to the future of the thing. They're going to help now by having depth, but they're just going to be that much better later. Because of those three, I think there's 3 redshirt sophomores. They're all relatively young, and they're going to be there at least 2 seasons, I would think. So, I mean, you're looking at – I think that was a big thing. Now, I think Brumfield right behind them. And if you didn't know, I'm a defensive coordinator, so I look more at that defensive stuff. But that front is going to help Brumfield even more. Going to keep pressure off those linebackers, let them play with the speed and the aggressiveness that they do, and they can rotate guys in. I know as a coach, offensive line coaches don't like to rotate guys outside of that 5. They like to get that continuity. And when we can put 4 guys out there and then 2 plays later put 4 more guys in front of them and move them around, it gets tough for 4 quarters. And, I mean, I think that's going to be a big thing with those 3 big guys coming in there.
In the first segment, if you don't mind if I jump in here with something, they talked about like, oh, we don't really know what these guys are going to be, Copeland, whatever, Peoples. We are hearing practice reports, right? We do hear positive things about the coaches, and not every piece of hype that a coach says is gospel, right? We heard it about Lofton. We heard it about Keller for a couple of years. We're hearing it again about Keller. But think about the hit rate out of the portal last year. Just like Drones, Jennings, Tootin, Felton, APR, Lane, Canteen. And then like that's a pretty good hit rate. I mean, Frady and Stone Snyder were the only 2 that didn't really hit, right? So this year you got Peebles, only hearing good things. Brumfield, good things. Copeland, good things. Spencer, Perry, also good things. Maybe even a Gilliam in there a couple times, maybe not so much. Either way, think about that hit rate that our coaches, they don't just go and grab from the portal. They are evaluating and pulling guys that we think are going to make a big impact. So it's very exciting.
They know what they're getting out of those guys. They're pulling them in. I can tell you from personal experience coaching against Peebles that he's a man. And they're gonna get good quality plays out of him, even if it's just for this year. He's a real deal. And I saw Kamari Copeland play in high school. He's not just a fancy squat number that's going up there. He's going to be ready to play, and he's going to want to play every snap they'll give him, and he's going to be ready to go. I mean, like you said, it's a big thing to hit like they did in the portal last year, but this crowd's definitely going to give them all they want and make them compare them to them, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to pivot over to David because he mentioned it a little bit already. As much as I love the defensive line, I trust J.C. Price. A lot of people doubted J.C. Price. J.C. Price definitely knows how to coach. And what you said, Davis, a few minutes ago, talking about Montavious Cunningham, because last year I felt we had 6 guys that could actually play the offensive line. David, you're seeing in practice more and more. What's that number this year? Is it 8? Is it 9? Could we see 10 guys potentially rotating in? Or I wouldn't say rotating, but are we seeing a point where we're going to have 8 definite rotations and there's going to be some younger guys getting reps at certain spots?
Yeah, well, I think one of the most interesting things is what was just said, which is a lot of offensive line coaches don't rotate a ton. But it is important to have depth when you get into situations where you need it, right? Guys are going to have to play. From what I've seen, Curtis, 8, 9 is kind of where Tech is right now. Now, granted, we haven't had a chance to see scrimmages yet. It's what I've gathered from chatting with Ron Crook at Media Days last week or 2 weeks ago. He wants to have 10. I think he has about 8 right now. I think bringing in a guy like Montavious Cunningham helps. Guys like Laith Ganem and Johnny Garrett, they're pushing for those spots. So that gives you kind of 8 right there. There's probably a 9th or 10th guy around. So I think it'll be interesting to see how it really shakes out. But I would agree with you, Curtis, when you say Virginia Tech only really had 6 guys. And that's
That
Nice.
I'm giving you 6.
You're giving me 6. Yeah.
Well,
We're being nice about 6.
I mean, this was a unit that at times did not necessarily play super well. But I think as the season went on, Ron Crook and Tyler Bowen and Brent Davis, who has a big role with that group, former Army offensive coordinator, they schemed stuff up so well that they hid a lot of deficiencies. And I'm curious, another year under everybody's belt, Ron Crook had an entire offseason to work with these guys instead of just getting there right before spring ball. What does this group look like in Ron Crook's second year? Everybody now has they bring everybody back. Like every single player from that group is back. So you would think everybody takes a step forward and you bring in some young guys. Like I got my eye on somebody like Laith Ganem. Can he push for one of those tackle spots? He's somebody that Brent Pry has spoken pretty highly on. And like Pete said, don't take everything as gospel. But overall, that room has been elevated. And I think it will only continue to be elevated. And a guy like Montavious Cunningham, who I mentioned before, he kind of plays an interesting role in that because he is somebody – if Tech doesn't have him, that's one fewer guy. And you need all of the big guys up front that you can get.
I think Cunningham's going to play a big part in being able to move a lot of places because he's got experience at guard. He's got experience at tackle. He's somebody that can really step up and fill a lot of needs. And I think that's one of the big things they're looking at is he's such a utility for whatever they need. You have guys that are challenging for spots in different places, but you've got a guy that I know I can plug in and play multiple places. I think that's big for them as well.
Yes, let's keep getting some thoughts from Robbie here because I know he's a ball knower of sorts. So we want to manage the hype a little bit and had a question about safeties. So safety play was a problem for Tech last year. Run fits were a big problem. And part of that was injuries, part of it was inexperience, part of it was targeting, guys just not being on the field when you'd like them to be. Last year, we kind of saw the trio of Jalen Stroman, Mose Phillips, and Jalen Jones get a lot of reps there. How do you see that safety unit shaking out this season, and just what does Tech need to do to kind of get better at that spot? Because I think it's kind of one of the few weak spots I can see on this team.
My honest opinion, I think a lot of you talked about targeting. Part of that is aggressiveness. I like that part. I like the aggressiveness part. You just have to learn how to tailor it back and use it properly. I think a lot of it was inexperience in the game, not being consistent with certain things that they had last year. And I think that aggressiveness is going to be the thing that separates several of them. I know in the first spring practice I was at this year, I went to their coaches clinic. We saw a spring practice. I think it was Phillips come through, and he laid a shot on one of the receivers early in practice. And the official that was there threw a flag for targeting and that. They've got to learn how to harness that aggression and use those things. Now, the fact that they're all playing together, once again, that consistency, playing together longer, working together, I think it's going to help that room overall. You're getting more of a feel from the coaches. More experience will be better, should translate to better play on the field. And the fact that you have two corners out there that are funneling things in, shutting things down on the edge, really gives you an ability to be a lot more aggressive with one of those safeties, if not both of them, to help in the run. So I don't think you try to step too far away from that. You keep that aggressiveness and just learn how to put it in the right places. And I think you'll see a lot of that. If we remember correctly, the guy that's coaching the safeties was always good about being very, very aggressive in his own right. And that's a thing Virginia Tech's been known for with their safeties. You look at them, they've always been aggressive. So this targeting thing's kind of it's an ever-changing thing.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to get used to. And just when you get used to the aspects of what you should be doing, they kind of change it up again. So I think that's going to be part of it, and just understanding how they're going to play together. and finding the right rotation for 4 or 5 guys there that can really help.
I think the big part about you say aggressiveness because safeties have to be aggressive. If
Yes.
you coach them, I'm sure you don't tell them to play with kids' gloves with the guys. It's like you've got to hit people.
Yes,
this is your space. Hit them. But I think maybe what could really help this team a lot is having those calls last year because now you get the video, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure Pearson's pulling them up. I'm sure Marvin's pulling them up saying, guys, look, love the aggressiveness. Look where your head placement is. Get the shoulder first. Get this, get that. These are the things we can fix because what you can talk about aggressiveness. And if a guy isn't aggressive back there, you can't teach that.
Right.
Because by all means, Cam Chancellor used to lay people out, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Everybody can remember his name escapes me right now, but the safety, Kyshon Jarrett.
Yeah.
Why was that escaping me? I was when he went to the Skins, he had the whole medical deal.
The pit hit.
The pit hit. Thank you, Pete. The pit hit.
Great moment.
Great moment. Clean. Shoulder just laid the kid out. So I like hearing that, Robbie. I also like the little cover behind practice that unfortunately Mo Phillips laid the crap out of one of our receivers, but that's all good and well. All right, I'm going to move over to Danny next. Danny, it is very clear that Tootin is the number one back. There is no doubt about it. There is no argument from the 4 guys we had on the first, from our 2 co-hosts to anybody on this panel to the 2 gentlemen we're bringing on later. He's RB1. But we got to look deeper. Last year, Malachi Thomas, he carried the ball 83 times. From what you're seeing, what you're reading, what you're hearing, your overall feel, what you saw in the spring game, is he going to get that much run this year? Or are we going to see some younger guys steal his share?
Well, you know, it's funny because it's a good thing I'm not sitting here as the head coach of Pitt right now, Pat Narduzzi, because I asked a very similar question to that man maybe 8 or so years ago at the ACC kickoff, one of his first years. Guy by the name of James Conner was coming back off of cancer, right? But they also had another running back by the name of Kadri Ollison who ran for north of 1,000 yards. And when I asked him about getting both of those guys involved, he kind of condescendingly put me down and said, why would I give the ball to anybody other than James Conner? And I thought, well, you got 2 useful backs there, coach. I feel like you could probably use both of those guys. And I think here at Tech this year, you've got 2 very capable backs in Tootin and Malachi Thomas. I also remember back in 2021, one of the first glimpses that we got of Malachi Thomas in that Syracuse game, one of Fuente's final games, goes for north of 150 yards, 3 touchdowns. No one had done that since David Wilson. That's an incredible game. Syracuse wasn't very good, but that was still pretty impressive. And the guys had some injury issues. He did that last season, but was a contributor in every game last year. Ideally, you're hanging with Tootin for most of the game, and the guy is so dynamic. How could you not, right? I mean, he can catch the ball out of the backfield. Obviously, he's great on the edge and between the tackles. The offensive line will have a lot to do with the success of Tootin, their health. Tootin's own health will play into that as well. But you also have to factor, obviously, in Kyron Drones and his dual threat ability and how much harder that is for a defense to prepare for. It only helps Tootin. It only helps Malachi Thomas. And I think the last thing that I would add to the running back conversation here is, you know, for the spring game, it was the PJ Prelo show for at least early on, right? He had a couple of touchdowns. He had a lot of production. They were giving him the ball a lot. And I'm a little bit biased because Pearson's my guy. He was my co-host on the Tech Tailgate show for a couple of years. I love him to death. But PJ really showed, I think, what he can do there and is a very capable third option. Although, you know, they've got a couple of other guys in Coney and Mason, with Coney being the only of the 3 that I just mentioned that have seen game action other than Malachi and Bashal Tootin. So I think there's just an absolute overflow of talent in the running back room this year, which is a great problem to have. But I think it's going to be the Tootin show, man, as it should be.
What you got next, Shelton?
Yeah, so let's go Pete here. Last year, Jalen Lane led the team in catches with 41. And Daquan Felton had 38. Obviously, the Hokies get Allie Jennings back this year. I sort of refer to that group as the big 3 because, well, they're the big 3 between Lane, Jennings, and Felton. Outside of those 3 guys, anyone in the wide receiver room you expect to maybe pop off or give take a leap forward and maybe provide some depth in that room as like a 4 or 5 option?
Well, I think it's a little too easy to say Aiden Green. I feel like that's the guy that we were talking about him in the spring. He had the cool catch in the bowl game, and he's got the right frame for it and all that kind of stuff. So I will, as far as a pop goes, I'll leave Aiden Green off because I expect him to be battling with Stephen Gosnell for that fourth receiver spot, especially with Gosnell maybe being a little iffy early on, although the practice reports indicates that the man has worked his butt off this summer to get back. Think about an XTB, right? Like that's someone that we thought, oh man, he made a lot of plays last year. He could potentially pop this year. He had one catch last year. One. I know he ran the ball, had some cool plays. He had one catch. He put on a little bit of weight, but he's not that big. Same thing for Takai Heath, a guy who was injured, but got a lot of hype before the season as a young guy that players were watching out for. So let's move all the way down. If you want to go a little exciting, a little bit of pop, let's go with a Brody Adams. I know we are loaded at receiver. It seems inconceivable that we'd want to even burn a red shirt on a Chance Wiggin or a Brody Adams. But this kid set so many records. He's doing well in camp from everything. I know you guys are on the boards. I know you're seeing this stuff. He's looking like the part of what he was coming out of high school, being our highest ranked recruit, depending on the service you look at. And so I think he's going to play. And it might not be a ton, but if you're looking for a pop, if you're looking for more than one catch as a freshman, I think it's Brody. And I'm not even sure he's going to get that red shirt. Maybe he does because we do have this wealth of depth. But if injuries come, if he outperforms some of those guys, that's who I'm looking for to pop is a Brody. I mean, you could say Chance too, because Chance had an excellent spring. And then there's Chance Fitzgerald that has a year on both of those guys, but maybe not as highly touted as those two younger guys.
100%. And from all sounds of it is those guys are going through, and with Wiggins and Adams, they showed up in the winter. Mm-hmm. They've gone through winter camp. They've gone through spring ball. They've gone through summer training. They're not effectively behind. I got one more thing, Sheldon, before you ask your next question for the whole group. This is coming from Tally, David. David, are we making a bowl this year? Because if I can recall, 365 days ago, you said we weren't.
Well, yeah, I saw Tally's comment. What I said Tech was 5-7, and Tech finished 6-6. I mean, what you guys started the show with the question, Curtis. You asked about taking a bet. Virginia Tech was 1-3, man. With Tally was the guy on here talking about an 8-win team last year.
No, that was me. And we finished with 7, and we started the wrong quarterback at the beginning of the season. So
I mean,
I'm gonna stick by that.
Yes. Virginia Tech is going to make a bowl game. I mean, I'm sure we'll get the predictions later. Curtis, you mind if I chime in on one thing that Pete just said about the wide receiver room?
Go ahead. Man.
It's funny. So at practice on what's today? Today's Tuesday. At practice on Friday last week, Brent Pry walked up to me. I was looking at one field. He walked up behind me and tapped me on the shoulder, and was like, "Dude, I tell you who's going to be a really great story this year is Stephen Gosnell." He's like, that guy. Steven's wearing blue right now, but he basically, after tearing his ACL in the Military Bowl, said he's going to rehab almost faster than anybody else has ever rehabbed from an ACL. He's basically full go. He's just wearing blue. Brent Pry was like, he told me, he's like, I've never seen a guy wear blue, dive as much, and be as physical as much in practice as Stephen Gosnell. I think he is maybe the most crucial guy to that wide receiver room. He didn't have as many catches, but almost every single one of those were third down catches last year. But he was a go-to guy in key spots. Now, I think the biggest question is, what does the run pass split look like? I think that will answer a lot of these questions. Danny, you talked about the running backs. Mm-hmm. Pete, you talked about the wide receivers. There's talent all over the board. It doesn't really matter who gets the ball. You know, they're probably going to do good things with it. You even look at the tight end room. You saw Benji Gosnell and Harrison St. Germain both catch passes in the Military Bowl, and you've got a guy back in Nick Gallo who's a reliable option, albeit he is not, a guy who catches, multiple touchdowns a season. But you've got options all over the field. How Tyler Bowen kind of balances this thing mixing up the runs versus mixing up the passes. Virginia Tech has weapons all across the board. And I think credit to Bowen and all the position coaches and to Brent Pry for kind of revamping this entire offense. Curtis, you opened the show talking about last year, Virginia Tech was 1-3, and I think there were a lot of people questioning what in the world Tyler Bowen was doing through the first 4 games. Part of that is probably starting the wrong quarterback. But now that you've got Kyron Drones in place, you've got everybody back. What does this offense look like? A lot of expectations, but when you have everybody back and you got talent across the board, man, it's all systems go. And I think that is the most exciting part this year. It's like this could go one of many ways. But it's not like there's a situation when Virginia Tech is playing. It's not like, oh man, Virginia Tech doesn't have wide receiver depth, or oh man, Virginia Tech doesn't have running back depth or tight end depth, right? It's there across the board, and I think that is something we have not seen for a really long time.
And David, it is unbelievable all the stuff you laid out in terms of the depth. And just think about 2 years ago when Caleb Smith is our leading wide receiver. Probably our 4th through 6th wide receiver would be the number 2 on this team. I mean, and maybe even farther down. That's how the depth has been built out in such a short period of time, and including the pass catchers, the tight end. It's unbelievable. And this is going to be a problem for Tyler Bowen in terms of how do you balance it? It's a good problem, but it's the Team USA basketball problem of like, I don't know who to play because all these guys are pretty good.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see how that. Go ahead, Robbie.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, when we've all followed this long enough, when was the last time you could name 6 wide receivers at Virginia Tech that you could say, I feel fine with any of them playing at any point in time?
It's true.
Yeah. It's true. It's been. I mean, we're talking. We might be getting closer to 1900s, as my kids say. I mean, we're getting back to a point, the end of the 90s. Towards the early 2000s before you can talk about 5 or 6 receivers that can do that.
We were in college, Robbie.
That was a long time ago.
Clowney. Yeah, we were in college.
Yeah.
Doing stupid things.
Yeah, there's probably why my memory's bad. But you've got the running backs to back it up. You've got the tight ends to help there. I mean, it's just, like you say, it's a problem to see if you can spread out all of the balls and all of the carries and everything, but it's a great problem to have.
Damn right it is.
As a coach, it's a great problem to have. And if the players buy into the fact that we're successful because of how the group works together and not just, I got to catch my balls to get to the next one, man, the sky's going to be the limit.
That's why when Shelton brought up the 41 catches as for the leader last year, is that the ceiling, like for the leader? Like, what's the most that any player on this team could even have? Like 50? Like Allie Jennings had 5 in the first game.
Yeah.
And that was before we kind of knew who Felton and Lane and all those guys were. But if you extrapolate that out, that would be 60 catches. He's not going to probably get 60 catches this year. If he gets 50, that'd be excellent.
Yeah. But Pete, hold on. I'm going to go back to something Don D said in segment 1. Y'all were listening. If Kyron Drone takes that step, there's no telling what the leading receiver is going to end up with, because he threw 285 were his attempts last year. If you tell me he improves, and y'all heard it, Price said it directly to us. I'm sure, David, he said it to you. Danny, you've probably heard him say it. The windows, he's put it in the right spot. He's fitting it better into the windows. If that happens, we might be sitting here in December and saying, holy crap, the leading receiver did have 65 catches. That's him, and that's on Kyron.
And it's based on completion percentage and how many snaps they get, right? Because if the defense plays better, we're going to get more offensive snaps. Right. And if Kyron completes more passes, there's going to be more catches. So it will all kind of work in harmony. But that's an interesting thought, Curtis.
100%. Yeah, and I think the other thing is you've got to balance Bashal Tootin too. Yeah. My biggest impression from those first 4 games last year is they didn't use him enough. I mean, think about the Purdue game. Grant Wells was the starting quarterback at the time. Virginia Tech, I don't think, had 5 rushing yards. It just did not work. Against Marshall, Bashal Tootin ran the ball well, and then Tech just stopped running the ball. But he's a potential 1,000-yard rusher sitting in that room. So you've got all these wide receivers, and it's like you've got a guy in Bashal Tootin and Kyron Drones, who could be 1,000-yard rusher in himself, right? Yeah. And that's what when you guys talk about, man, this is a big problem for Tyler Bowen. You bet you'd rather have this than have what happened in 2021 and 2022, where Caleb Smith is your only option. Yeah. By the way, I pulled up Andy Bitter's story from a couple weeks ago on the wide receiver room, my colleague, and I wanted to get the Gosnell fact right. Gosnell had 22 catches last year. 16 of them were first downs. So that kind of just shows you his ability, right? And Pete, you mentioned the freshman. I think Chans is the one that has really stood out the most to me. I think he and Keelan Adams are two really good talents. But I mean, like you said, Robbie, if you guys have 8 to 10 wide receivers that you can name that you feel confident about, man, like, it's going to be really, really interesting to see how Fontel Mines, and Elijah Brooks, these guys kind of just manage their rotation at their specific position, because there are only so many catches to go around.
I mean, think about the possibility. We could be looking 4 months from now. You could be looking at 4 wide receivers with 30 to 40 catches or more, 5 or 6 touchdowns. You've got 2 rushers, 800 yards apiece, one being a quarterback, and you've got Malachi Thomas who could run for 500-600. Where does that put you at the end offensively? It puts a lot of points on the board, is what it does.
A lot of yards, a lot of points.
And I mean, that's a big thing. If you get a lot of yards and not a lot of points out of it, then we'll find a problem. But
we got a big problem.
Sheldon, it's going to be hard for those kind of yards not to turn into points.
Yeah. By the way, to answer your question, Robbie, when was the last time we had this many receivers we could depend on? I'd go to 1971. Don Strock led the country in passing yards, air raid offense, very prolific. Threw to Mike Burnett, by the way. A lot of people forget that, but he did. He was a Mike Burnett merchant, they would say. So, but looking forward to seeing how the passing game evolves this year. So let's talk about everyone's favorite topic, the schedule. I always love to dive into the opponents this year. I am a big believer that you should never, ever overlook a single opponent. Take nothing for granted in college football, this unpredictable sport that we all watch and love. Now, we saw Virginia Tech have a lot of trouble with Rutgers last year, really physical team. I think we could see a lot of the same this year, even though that game's going to be at Lane. I think that's an opponent that I look at on the schedule that's, gives me a little bit of concern. So I will pose a question to you guys. Let's start with Danny. Who is an opponent on this schedule for Virginia Tech that you think might be a little bit underrated and could give this team a little bit of trouble that maybe fans aren't taking seriously enough?
Well, I think the obvious answer there is definitely Rutgers, because Rutgers hasn't really been an established, consistent winning football program in quite some time. And they've had some interesting things happen to that program over there. I would say as I look up and down the schedule, though, I think going to Stanford is a game that is probably going to be a pretty big headache. You're going to the other side of the country. You're going almost as far away from Blacksburg as you can go. And it's a team that you're not particularly familiar with. It's a stadium that no one in this program is particularly familiar with. So I look at that Stanford game and with them coming in, being members of the ACC now, the pressure is going to be ratcheted up because that's going to be a conference game. You need to go and win that. But like you guys are talking about, I think each and every one of these games is going to take a unique mental preparedness to go and win these games. You're talking about the talent at both wide receiver and running back, and how it's going to be difficult for Tyler Bowen to figure out where he ends up, giving most of the looks to, but it's going to change from week to week depending on who they're playing, depending on what your opponent's strengths are, because the reality is their passing game is going to need to be better some days and the running game is going to need to be better some days, right? Like against Rutgers, you mentioned Shelton, physical football team, might be a little bit harder to run the ball. You're going to probably need to hit some things over the top to and not turn the football over, right? That's always the first key thing that any team needs to do to go and win football games. But if we're talking about schedule, games that give me a little bit of heartburn outside of the obvious ones like Miami and Clemson, and since you already mentioned it in Rutgers, Shelton, I'll say Stanford.
Okay, Stanford it is. D. Cunningham, an opponent this year that Hokies cannot afford to overlook.
I think Georgia Tech is, I don't want to. Sorry, Curtis, did I take yours?
Took my answer. I'm with you, Connor. I love it.
I think, I think Rutgers is the obvious one. In my opinion, Rutgers is the biggest game on Virginia Tech's schedule because it's the first good test against a good team. Virginia Tech has not beaten a good team in the Brent Pry area yet. That's why Rutgers is up there. But I don't think anybody's really underlooking Rutgers. I think those people who know football understand that Rutgers is a really good test in the trenches. I think Georgia Tech is just interesting, though. I mean, this is the battle of the Techs. This is the battle of the Brents. And Georgia Tech is a team that Jamal Haynes last year ran for almost 1,100 yards as Georgia Tech's running back. Haynes King had almost 800 yards on the ground as Georgia Tech's quarterback.
Mobile quarterback.
That is maybe the only other duo in the ACC returning that has a potential 1,000-yard rusher at running back and at quarterback, like Virginia Tech. And I think that is one where Georgia Tech, under Brent Key, is just this very unique team. Now, this schedule, if you've seen the Yellow Jackets schedule, it's all over the place. I mean, maybe the toughest in the ACC.
Mm-hmm.
So how they come in mentally will be very, very interesting. But I think that is a game that Virginia Tech should win. It's at home. It's the better team, but it will have to stop the run. And if you watched Virginia Tech play last year, you know that stopping the run was a struggle at times. So I think that is a game we will know, I think, by then, whether or not the Hokies can stop the run well, whether they can fit the run well, something they did not do well in 2023. But that Georgia Tech game is quiet, kind of comes after that Thursday night Boston College game. And depending on where Virginia Tech is, you got Clemson looking down the road, not too far after Syracuse. It falls in a peculiar window in October where it'll be a little bit chillier in Blacksburg. And if the Hokies are on a high, that's a team that could scare you.
PP, besides obvious Miami and Clemson, who is the team that is keeping you up at night?
That Stanford was a good answer by Danny, because Troy Taylor in year 2, I thought there could be a little bit of a leap there, something that people aren't prepared for. And just the fact that it's after Miami, it concerns me because it's back-to-back roadies on corners of the country that are very far away. But the Dome, I think TSL talked about the Dome a little bit. That's terrifying. I'll go with an easy. We're not overlooking it because it's game 1, but we overlook it because of the opponent, and that's Vandy. Yeah. And you got Diego Pisson-Pavia coming over from New Mexico State. You got Jerry Kill, a guy who was in our building and improved our run game and our team on their side as the assistant to the head coach. Clark Lee, their head coach, has now taken over the DC duties, which is probably an act of desperation, but nevertheless, a little bit more of a focus on the defensive side of the ball. And they got Tim Beck as the offensive coordinator. So you have a completely new system, new scheme, new quarterback. And I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to Vandy on online or whatever. They feel confident. I'm not sure exactly why, because they lost the last 10 games of their season, but they feel confident. And I don't want to go down to Nashville just thinking that's a walkover. This is a game we absolutely need to be ready and focused for. I know Pry will have them ready and focused. It's just, it is a game that I'm going to the game. I don't want to be in Nashville after a loss. And so it is keeping me up at night just a little.
All right, Robbie, underrated opponent. Who does VT need to take seriously?
I don't know if it's so much the opponent as it could be the mindset. As a coach, we look at, you're going to have a huge rivalry game, and I'm pretty sure it's a night game against Miami.
Friday night game.
Next week, you have Stanford, who you're going to, if I'm correct, you're going to travel to.
Yes.
You're going cross country. So you come off of a huge game with a lot of emotion. You're traveling across country knowing that you're going to play a team that's not very good, technically, and you've got a week off afterwards. I think, to me, that scares me. As a coach, where's the mindset for that game sitting in between us with a most emotional game to start off with, and then a bye week afterwards? that one concerns me. Not because so much of the opponent, but just the dynamic of the entire situation. It bothers me a little bit. We always look at opponents as coaches right before a bye week as, okay, we got to get through this to get to a spot where we can rest a little bit. And when that opponent is not the spectacular, hard-fought people that you got to earn that bye week, you already start to think about that. And the coaches have to work through that and say, well, we can't overlook these guys. We're going cross-country to play them after a brawl in Blacksburg with Miami.
South Beach.
South Beach. Yeah.
Still,
you got to travel down there and go through that emotion and then travel cross country. I think that's a big thing that they're going to have to overcome. And I think that's where they win, but, it's going to be one of those close ones that makes us all drop some little Jeremys here. You know what I mean? That bothers me a little bit.
All right. So, Connor, you did take mine. Georgia Tech scares me. And Pete, you mentioned it. The Carrier Dome, it's almost like what Robbie said. If you get there and there's a certain number of wins next to your name and Clemson's on the horizon in Blacksburg, the build is coming up, that game scares me. I hate that place.
Yeah,
I hate that place. That's all you got to say. That place sucks.
The players hate it too.
Everybody hates it.
I've had two former players, one at NC State and one at Clemson, that have played multiple games in that dome, and they said it is the absolute worst place in the world to play because you can't hear a damn thing.
Yeah.
So
even when they're terrible, you can't hear a damn thing.
All right. So we're going to wrap up this segment real quick here, and I'm going to take what we took from the first one. Don't give me an illicit response. If blank improves, the Hokies will win 10 games, Robbie.
Consistency.
Okay.
If they're consistent with what the run feels we talked about, the rotations, the offensive line, consistency. That's what we didn't see a lot of times until the very end last year. At the beginning, consistency hurt us. If the consistency gets better throughout the team, they're gonna get there.
Pete?
I was run fits. And Robbie kind of said it in his answer, but that's the thing for me. I was going to go with tackling, but more specific, run fits. We saw it against Purdue, saw it a couple other times last year. If that gets better, this defense will take a giant step forward.
And it was a good defense last year. It was a top 25 defense, which how do we wrap our heads around as bad as the run fills were early? Still a top 25 defense. Danny?
Aggressiveness.
I'm going to stick with my theme of the running game, and I'm just going to say the running game, right? The running game, if that improves, they'll win 10 games because someone at some point here over the last 45 minutes mentioned Tootin has the potential to be a 1,000-yard rusher. Tootin should be a 1,000-yard rusher. There's no doubt in my mind. He was at, 850 or something last year, and they really didn't figure out how to use him. They didn't really figure out how to use anybody on their offense until the 5th game of the season. So if Tootin has a good season and the running game overall is effective, I think obviously Tootin himself is having a good year. Malachi Thomas is probably subbing in and providing some support for that, also run the ball well. That also means you're blocking well. And for Virginia Tech, I heard the guys in the first segment talking about this. They don't have a ton of depth on the offensive line. So they need health to make it through a physical ACC season if you're talking about running the ball effectively and doing it consistently, like Robbie was saying. So I'll say the running game, if they're able to do that. And the one guy I didn't mention there is Kyron Drones. He can also be the absolute nightmare for defensive coordinators to try and stop in the run game.
David?
If Virginia Tech's play in the trenches improves, the Hokies will win 10 games. Chris Coleman, my colleague at Tech Sideline, wrote about this today. This is the J.C. Price, we've heard through the grapevine, has said that this is a better defensive line unit than last year. And that's saying a lot because last year's defensive line was pretty good. You've got the transfers we already talked about. You've got Antoine Powell-Ryland, Cole Nelson, Keyshawn Burgos, CJ McCray. That is a loaded defensive line. But there were some games last year, NC State, Louisville, Florida State. Those guys got pushed off the ball.
Rutgers.
Rutgers.
Rutgers. If the Hokies can be better in on both sides of the ball in the trenches. I already talked about the offensive line. If the Hokies are better in those trenches where the battles are won, they're going to win. They will have the good opportunity to win 10 games. Because if you go into that Rutgers game and you are pushing Rutgers around, not like what happened last year, you have control of that football game. I think everybody in here would agree that that is one of the biggest keys to football. And I think we saw it at times, Virginia Tech defensively. That defensive line just ate teams up last year, the teams that weren't very good. Taking that next step is to do it against good teams.
Yes, sir. Yes. Sheldon, I'm going to let you cap it off here.
I'll go safeties, man. I mean, I think they got the linebacker unit improved. You know, the O-line's going to get better with experience. I'm just kind of concerned about that safety room because they had some struggles last year. You still got a little bit of experience there. And, you know, their poor run fits kind of led to a lot of big plays in the secondary. So if they get that safety room a little bit fixed up, I think the defense will take a big step, and the offense kind of, you expect them to be pretty good. That'd be the best recipe, I think, for 10 wins.
All righty. Well, listen, guys, we have talked just under an hour here. David, Danny, Pete, Robbie, thank y'all for joining us. Robbie is going to stay on with us. Robbie was supposed to be in our third segment. Shout out Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel's got a sick kid at home. Mike was going to join us. He couldn't. We love you, Mike. I hope the kid feels better tomorrow. David, Pete, Danny, I hope to see y'all sometime this season. Cheers, boys, and go Hokies. We got a little something for y'all now, created by our man at BCP, Jack Day.
Transfer from Coastal Carolina, who has not played in 3 years. From 38, the snap gets away. Oh, boy, this is a whole mess. Old Dominion's going to pick it up. It's going to be a scoop and score. Touchdown, Monarchs. Robert Kennedy, the safety. One of the greatest and most intimidating venues in all of college football. Keeps the legs churning, and he gets in the end zone. And he is spun around and dropped, and that is Norrell Holler. Looks like he's gonna throw. He does. The temperament, the attitude, the way we set our jaw to play the game, you hear me? This time intercepted. This is a brotherhood. That's what Virginia Tech is built on.
This episode is brought to you by Dogfish Head Craft Brewery. The Grateful Dead and Dogfish Head have gotten the band back together with the release of Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale, a light-bodied pale ale brewed with sustainable Kernza grains, granola, and heaps of good karma for a refreshing brew that's music to your taste buds. Available nationwide. Visit dogfish.com to find Grateful Dead Juicy Pale Ale in your neck of the woods. Dogfish Head Craft Brewery is located in Milton, Delaware. Please drink responsibly.
This episode is brought to you by Wayfair. Podcasts follow us everywhere. Whether you're cooking in the kitchen, chilling in the living room, or pretending to fold laundry in the bedroom. And with Wayfair, every one of those rooms can tell a story of its own. Their curated collections of furniture styles and prices make Wayfair the trusted destination to turn your home into your happy place. Shop everything home at wayfair.com with free and easy delivery straight to your door.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
That video's got me ready to play.
Damn right. By the way, shout out to Jack Day. All that stuff, all the content y'all see on Instagram, Twitter with those reels and stuff is Jack. He is kind of the man affectionately behind the scenes doing stuff for us. And there you go. Jack all day. Absolutely. Fellas, We got to segment 3.
Hey, we're under 2 hours starting segment 3.
That's an improvement.
We wanted it to be at 90 minutes.
We made it.
We wanted it to
barely,
be at 90
but we
minutes.
made it because Brian ain't here yet.
Unfortunately, we couldn't meet the quota that Jeremy set in the first one.
No, not even close. I don't even think we had one.
Hey, you threw a couple there, Robbie.
We got to take the alcohol from
I
Jeremy.
just show it.
Just the F. Just the F.
We're getting ready to go back to school. I got to get in school mode. I got to cut those down a little bit. I can't be throwing those out in the middle of class.
There we go. All righty. Well, we have finally got to segment 3. Robbie's going to stay with us. He was supposed to be here in segment 3 again. Mike McDaniel, we hope the kid's okay, man. But fellas, we got 2 that have been on with us before. Always a fun time. First man I want to introduce, he is one of the sons of Saturday, former Virginia Tech offensive lineman, Mr. Billy Ray Mitchell.
What's going on? Good to see everybody. This is one of my favorite nights every single year. I have to say, just hats off to you all for putting this together. I know this is not easy. I tell Pete all the time, I get a little squirrely when there's more than 2 people in here and you guys are running with the what is it? The NFL box that they run, but you're talking to them. So you guys do a great job. Appreciate y'all putting this together.
So Billy, we always got to know, you're always somewhere different. Where are you tonight?
Cross country, Bill.
So I did just sign a lease in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I'm spending this month in San Diego. So I've been in San Diego since July 26th. I leave August 25th or 26th. So I'm out here in Crown Point enjoying some time with a bunch of buddies that I met out here during my cross country trip, and then I'm gonna chill. I need to stop. Traveling around is a lot of fun, but I need to be able to go to a restaurant and get the regular and have people know what I'm talking about. So excited to be in the
Charlotte's going to be the roots for at least the foreseeable future then?
Charlotte, I signed a 16-month lease. It's my first lease since 2019. So excited to be there. I'm excited to lay some roots down. It's going to be nice.
There you
I'm
go.
about an hour and 20 minutes north of Charlotte. We'll have to catch up one day.
Coach, we will do that. Coach. Looking forward to it.
I just got a question. You said a 16-month lease?
Yeah, because I'm spending 2 out here in California. If I'm trying to actually evaluate, Charlotte, am I long for Charlotte? We can't just do 10 months. So, I say, hey, look, I need you to price match. Give me 16 months. You got the pool. You got some nice amenities here. I'm going to sign for a little longer, but you're going to give me a price break. You're already giving me the 2 months for free. So technically it's a 14-month lease. I'll only be there for 15. The math makes sense in my head. So
Sons of negotiating.
That's right. You gotta make it shake somehow. So it ended up working out. I will answer Pat because I did want to talk about it. This was a cop from one of the coffee shops in Blacksburg. It is a Hokies pep band jean long sleeve shirt. Shout out to all of the thrift stores in Blacksburg. They do a great job. But one of my favorite cops as of recently. So thank you, Pat, for teeing me up to brag about my shirt.
Well, this next guy needs no introduction. He is the OG, the founder of, I think, honestly, everything from content creation and things on Twitter, because he's been doing it pretty much since he hung up the cleats. Dwight Vick. Dwight, how we living, man?
I'm good. All right,
You got a lot of headroom there. You're making yourself look shorter than you really are.
I don't know why it's looking like that.
There we go.
There we go.
There he is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. My Wi-Fi in here am I glitching? Am I good?
No, you're good.
You coming in loud and clear. You look good.
All right, good.
That's my thing.
Yeah, y'all got me on this TNT Lakers versus Memphis time, man. 10:30 kickoff, man. I was like, bruh, like I'm sitting here like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, ads, but it's been great, man. It's great to be back on. I'm like Billy, man. This time of year, it kind of snuck up on me. The season, I've been following it and seeing all the stuff the Suns are posting. You guys, Curtis, always doing great work. Like I said, the Suns and everybody, man. Just Tech's got a great podcast family. So I appreciate y'all having me on, man. So I'm just here to share my insight. I'm not the guru. I just speak on what I know. If this podcast was about electrical engineering, I wouldn't be on here. You know what I'm saying? I speak on what I know.
let me say one thing on that note. I think we have been so spoiled these last few years with an ACC championship in men's basketball, ACC championship in women's basketball, Final Four, and I'm fired up for basketball. I'm fired up for football season, and then we got to figure it out. Coach Duffy, I'm hoping that you continue the success with women's basketball. I hope that men's basketball has a good year this year, because the off seasons have been a lot easier than they have been in Virginia Tech history, when football kind of was struggling to keep it together. So let's squeeze all of the juice out of this football season, and let's find a way to keep it rolling when we do get into the off season. We've been very, very lucky these past few years. So
yes, well said.
Yeah, it's nice having those winter sports, those spring sports kind of carry that path into the off season, give you something to talk about. And it's nice winning a little bit and being able to celebrate that in Blacksburg, celebrate the community, and celebrate what Virginia Tech's all about.
100%.
So let's kick it off here. We've got. I want to throw this one to Billy because we've been talking a lot on Twitter. We talked off camera. We talked on the phone. Let's talk scholarship limits and NIL. So we're gonna get right into the grease here real quick, because we had the new rule out there. Scholarship limits are up. You can use NIL money. You can commingle that with athletic department money now. Everything's kind of treated the same. You got coaches wearing "we pay players" shirts at practice.
Damn.
Sell me on this being a net benefit for the Hokies under Brent Pry.
So, first and foremost, for those that don't know, I do work in the NIL space. I work for a company called Student Athlete NIL. On the scholarship limits situation, I'm going to have a hard time selling you on this being a positive for Virginia Tech or really anybody that is in a blue blood program. And the reason that I say that is you look back 40 years ago, 30 years ago, and why Alabama was so dominant, why Army was so dominant, why Oklahoma was so dominant is they could take everybody. They could take 30 kids in a class. They could take 40 kids in a class, and it really didn't matter. Now we're at a point where you have this scholarship limit that is up to 110, 105 different players. You're having all those players on scholarship. So these blue blood teams can take more players and put them on scholarship than they could previously. I'm not sure that helps a ton for the Virginia Techs of the world, the NC States of the world, kind of that tier. I do think that it's good for baseball, who was operating with 11.7 scholarships, and that's now up to 34. Softball had 12. They're now up to 25. So that's great. That specifically, I'm not sure how that helps. I do think that it kind of resets the deck I feel bad for a lot of the kids that were in high school these last couple of cycles, because schools had to retroactively handle keeping kids that had these COVID years, these redshirt years on their books, and not being able to extend scholarships to some of these really talented high school players. So I think it's a day late and a dollar short on that change. This probably would have made more sense to do 3 or 4 years ago. Now, switching over to the same pot. Look, I think it's really interesting, and I have no inside information on how Tech is going to do this. I can speak to what maybe some schools are considering doing, or some schools are doing based upon what the state laws are. Basically, with this money being the same pot, you are going to be able to offer benefits to people like priority points. Let's say if Virginia Tech wanted to say, hey, if you donate to the NIL fund of Virginia Tech, we'll give you priority points. Because for right now, you're not really able to offer university benefits back to giving to NIL. So, the crazy situation about NIL is in its name. Name, image, and likeness is just paying players. It's not name, image, and likeness. If I ask all of you to name every single person that you see on a commercial or has a brand deal in the MLB or the NFL or the NBA, it's not every single player on the team, but we're led to believe that every single Power 5 program in America has $4 to $12 million worth of name, image, and likeness players on their roster. They don't, newsflash, but they do have players that are worth that amount to the school based upon their skill level. So I think that this gets us closer to tapping into some of that TV money, tapping into some of those MMR deals with the Learfields and the Playflies of the world. And I don't want to bog this down in a conversation that is way bigger, and I won't be able to give an awesome answer in 5 minutes, but I highly encourage you all to check out the episode that we did with Olivia Nuss. I did just retweet that on our feed. She is the head of legal affairs at Student Athlete NIL. She used to work for NILSU in Baton Rouge. She's fantastic, very, very educated on the matter. But I do think that opening this up to where universities can participate and offer their donors some benefits back for helping put the team on the field, that's going to help level the playing field a little bit. We still need to figure out how we stop the bidding war every single year. That is completely out of control. And you're almost in a situation where, well, I hope our quarterback, every school, I hope our quarterback plays really well, but not too well, because then he won't be on our team the year after. So it's a little bit of an interesting conundrum, but crazy, crazy world.
Yeah, I mean, we are in a situation now where it's like you want players to do well, but I think where Virginia Tech has kind of put itself in the totem pole, they're not a blue blood where, like, as soon as you get that good season, you've got a bidding war. They've got more money, they've got more coffers, they can go and pay proportionally more players to join their roster, right? So we're kind of at that point where we do pretty well. We do well enough, but we can't pay 22 guys what they could get at places like Alabama, or even places like a Boston College in some cases, or a Maryland. Like, sometimes we're gonna have to make that business decision of, do we match that offer? Do we try to do something else? And I know Price talked about, when guys come to him and say, hey, I was offered this, the first thing he says is, hey, do you like playing here? Do you like being here? Do you like being in Blacksburg? Do you like being a Hokie? And I think that culture piece has really went a long way in helping us kind of maintain the roster that we have coming into this season, and helped us have that roster that is, from a returning production standpoint, right at the top of the country.
And I have to say, too, I'm not in any way against players receiving compensation. They've been missing out for years on the compensation that they deserve. I have a problem with the way that it was handled by the NCAA, which is they threw their hands up in the air on NIL and the transfer portal at the exact same time, and it created chaos. And I do want to extend a tip of my cap to Triumph and that team. Collectives are trying to solve for an impossible problem at every one of these schools. Again, it is trying to find a way to generate advertising dollars and fundraising for numbers that are exorbitantly higher than what a normal company would pay to work with some of these athletes. That's just the reality of the situation. Not all of them, but some of them. So I do have to tip my cap and say, fantastic job by Triumph and the coaching staff to keep this team together. Because, you zoom back 10 years ago and you looked at this roster midway through the season, you say, hey, we're going to be pretty good next year. Midway through last season, we're like, if we could keep like half of this team, we'll be pretty good next year. And they were able to do that. And that's why we're being talked about so much this offseason.
Appreciate it, Billy.
All right, Tally, what you got, man?
Just to hit on that, on a little bit of that, what Billy's talking about there. I don't want to get into it too deep, but with what they're doing with NIL, which is sometimes kind of crazy, and transfer portal, which is crazy as well. It pushes some kids to JUCO and things like that. But I think it's kind of an adverse effect for us. I think it helps us a little bit more than it hurts us, because from where I sit down here in SEC country, they've been doing that. They've just been doing it behind closed doors. That's why they had so many stockpiles of kids sitting and waiting 2 and 3 years, because somebody who owns a horse farm would be like, oh, I'll pay that kid's, I'll pay for him and his family and his mom to move to Alabama to get a job and all of this stuff for 3 years until he can get on the field, as long as he don't leave. So it's been happening at school. So why not make it as equal as you can?
To be fair, Tally, It hasn't just been happening at SEC schools. I mean, going. I wasn't this caliber of recruit, but I went to high school with these calibers of recruits, and it wasn't just like these 3 schools who came in and said, "Hey, we can take care of some things." A ton of schools were doing this. It's just not behind closed
of course,
right now.
of course.
And I do agree with you that this puts it in a really good position. And my seat from working with Liz in Georgia, which was incredible over the last 2 years, like that was one of the truest examples of NIL, because the businesses that were working with them and how seriously they took their podcast and working with these businesses, they saw actual ROI in that investment. They didn't just say, "Hey, Liz and Georgia are good at basketball, so we're just going to, work with them to make something happen." There was a real embracing from the fan base's perspective and the business's perspective. And even though Georgia couldn't participate in NIL in the same capacity that Liz did, they had a huge impact on the Blacksburg community on and off the court through NIL. And opportunities like that are what make it so special. So I have to tip my cap to the both of them as well.
Definitely. Well, yeah, man, we appreciate your. First of all, I'm gonna go on this too. Then we'll get back to the normal scheduled broadcast. I'm glad you said that you got a job, because I've got a lot of messages about, does Billy work? Is his family the mafia? How is he able to travel all over these places? So
I'm glad
the man said that he works. Y'all heard it here first. He does have a job. He may be rich, but his family is not funding him.
Tally. I'm from New Jersey, but my parents are not in the waste management business. Okay. I'm not a Soprano. I'm not a Cardarello. I'm not a Filippelli. No, I mean, I will say when I was laid off from the technology job a couple of years ago, Sons of Saturday was, and you guys know this is, I'm not going to say it's a full-time job, but you're working with advertising, you're getting on, you're recording them. And here we are it's 7:50 here, but it's 10:50 over there. We're burning some midnight oil. It's work. We enjoy talking about Virginia Tech. I will say there are times that it's more fun to talk about Virginia Tech going through 6-6 football seasons and 3-10 football seasons. You're getting ready to press record, and Pat and I may look at each other and be like, all right, we got to do 45 minutes on this. It is a ton of fun to be part of the conversation. But yes, do have a job, do have health insurance. There, to my knowledge, there is no Billy Ray fund. It'd be nice if there was, though.
Right. Well, I'll ask this question. Just talking about, Dwight getting you involved a little bit, as well as you, Billy, talking about the both of you guys having, being a part of teams from the past that had some preseason hype. Dwight, the 98 team, and then, Billy, the 17 team that was loaded with NFL talent all across it. And you guys, seeing the preseason hype and the talent that was on the team. Now, seeing what we have now with the hype and the talent on the team, how do how did y'all handle those expectations? And kind of how do you think Coach Pry and his staff are handling those expectations of getting that hype, but also still going out this year and performing?
Well, I mean, I've been asked this question before. I think I was watching the other 2 segments you guys did with everybody on, Danny and those guys, about all the players in which room. But I've always said, and I say it every year, if you look at the great Virginia Tech teams over the last 25, 27 years, the teams that win the conference or get to the conference championship game and win 9 or 10 games are teams that have leaders. When you have leadership, regardless of how many stars you return, that always helps. But if they're unselfish and they locked in and they're an extension of Pry and Pearson and JC and Marvin, those guys, then your locker room is going to be fine. Like, your locker room has to be right. I always talk about the 2003 Hokies right before they went into the ACC in 2004. I stand on this as a kid. See, I stand on business on this one. That 2003 Hokies team was loaded. You had Keith Willis at tight end. You had Kevin Jones. You had Brian Randall. You had Jay Grove at center. You had Ernest Wilford. You had a loaded squad. They won games at Texas A&M. They were picked to battle Miami. They even beat Miami that year, broke their 31-game winning streak. This is when Miami was loaded, right? But they underachieved. They lost to Boston College that year at home. They lost to UVA. It was UVA's first time since beating us since 1998. That team underachieved because, they had Vegas Robinson and Vince Hall at linebacker, but they weren't a unit. So in a lot of ways, people ask me, how great will Tech do? I always say I feel great because if the guys that are not just starters, because you can be a backup and be a leader, if the guys understand what Pride and his staff want, what JC and those guys want, then your team will be unified. If it's look at me and, we're not locked in, but, I'm going to get my paper, or I got to get my numbers, or I'm trying to improve my draft status, the team is going to underachieve. And not to pick on Miami or other teams, but that's what you've seen sometimes. You say, wow, that team is loaded. How did they not win 8 or more games? Well, they had a bunch of selfish guys. One thing I being around the locker room, being around Tech at the spring game and just knowing some of those guys in the locker room, they're locked in. They seem very unselfish. So I think with Kyron as his leader and the rest of those guys, keeping those guys, a big factor in a lot of guys returning was Kyron. So they wanted to come back and run it back. Tootin could have left. A lot of guys could have left. So you kind of see what you saw at Clemson that one year for about 5-6 years, where Dabo was able to get a lot of future NFL players to return and win 11 or 12 or more games. I'm not saying we're going to do that, but I do feel good because I feel like the leadership is there. This is why I said on your podcast about a year ago that the biggest issue I saw with Virginia Tech the last few years, the end of the Fuente era, as well as the first years with Pryor, is that they had no idea how to win. When you have guys that know how to lead, you know how to go on the road. When I was at Tech and when I played, or even the guys that came after me that won, those guys know how to win on the road. And if they didn't win the game, like I remember when Billy was at Tech, they went toe-to-toe with Alabama for 3 quarters. And that was a future national championship team because they had great leadership. It wasn't like they were going to win 11 games that year, but I just feel like it always starts in the locker room. And I feel like if our guys that are on the field and doing what needs to be doing, like I don't know if it was Sons of Saturday that shared it or Tech Triumph, but there was a video I shared in my Instagram story of Kyron and the receivers. It was 9:45 at night, and they were in the indoor practice facility getting throws in, and they were just drenched in sweat, and they were locked in. To me, that's the small things that you saw back when I played, or even after I played with Tyrod and those guys. That's the leadership that won't be, it's not measurable until you see them play on the field.
On that note, I wanted to say a couple of things. Number one, it's not always about having leadership on a team that is potentially competing for a conference championship or potentially competing for a spot in the playoff. It is just leadership, period. Like I remember that 6-6 team that had to get bowl eligible in one of Coach Beamer's last seasons. And I'll never forget when we were staring in the face. I can't remember how many games we had to win to get bowl eligible, but they had a players only meeting and Kaishawn Jarrett got up, Dietrich Bonner got up, a bunch of those dudes got up there and just talked about how important it was, how much it meant to them to send out Coach Beamer the right way, and having people that are willing to step up and step into that role where coaches can inspire you only so much and coaches can only say so much. But when you have somebody in that locker room that is going through exactly what you're going through and is talking about how much it means to them, especially to some of those young guys, that's pivotal. And that makes a huge difference. I also think the difference between what really separated that 2016 team was two things. Number one, when that team started to get some buy-in after the first 2 games of the year, when people realized, okay, Gerard Evans is a dude, this wide receiver room is awesome, we got punched in the face by Tennessee. And it brought everybody right back down to earth. And everybody had to go back to fundamentals and understand, okay, if we're going to be who we can be, we're going to have to tighten some things up. And that team did that. And then that team went to the ACC championship and had the best year we've had since 2012, 2011. On the flip side, that team had so many players who had played for so many years together. John McLaughlin was one of those players who, as a freshman, was going out there against Alabama. You look at a Wyatt Teller, who had been through multiple offensive line coaches, had been through the ringer. Sam Rogers, walk-on. All of these guys who had so much respect and had been through it and could take those younger players that had to contribute or those players that came in and get everybody reading from the same set of notes made such a big difference. And we have that continuity now. And Coach Pry, I think one of the things that he said that is so pivotal was it was a difficult decision to pick who went to ACC Media Day. Like that was an actual conversation of, I wonder who's going to go and somebody's going to get left out, because I can't remember the last time we had a team where you can identify somebody in every room who has the leadership qualities that you're looking for on a team. Every single room on this team has a leader that you would feel comfortable going into Saturday, Thursday, or Friday with. And we haven't had that in a few years across every single room. And I think that is a huge difference between this year going into it. Just don't have to have that Tennessee conversation. Don't have to have that early season, everybody loves you, and then you underperform. Now, I'm not saying that Tennessee team wasn't good. That was a really good Tennessee team who didn't know how to use Alvin Kamara. But we didn't have our potential in that game.
Yeah. Those turnovers definitely didn't help either, though.
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't. They did ball security for 3 hours on that Monday or Tuesday after that.
Well, Billy, just to your point, that team I watched, I remember that was on my birthday, September 14th. So I watched it. I was up in D.C. at a bar with a bunch of people, man. I was looking at that game, and everyone was mad at me because I went on Twitter and I said, this is why I didn't go. Because it was at that racetrack, right?
Yep.
And I said, until Virginia Tech can handle hype and expectations, I'm not taking the bait. And then people were like, oh, I'm not turning my back on those guys. Cam Phillips and those guys are my brothers. I'm talking about the fact that the 2007 game against Miami, when we had Percy Harvin and 68 recruits on the sideline, maybe 200. And Miami beat us. They beat the brakes off us. That's the hit with Daryl Tapp, slam the quarterback. Or the Tennessee game, which I felt like if we don't turn the ball over, we win that game. Easy. So what you're talking about, Billy, is being able to handle hype and expectations. Coaches pretty much say the same things. Everybody puts their spin on it. You know, some guys show video. Some guys will, have another guest speaker come in. Everybody right now across the nation feels like they can have a chance to win games and win their conference. The difference is not just the talent, but the players that anoint themselves as leaders, that make sure that nobody's skipping a rep in the weight room. Billy, you know this, and, conditioning, making sure the third stringers are giving us a good look on scout, all that stuff. I saw it. I saw Antonio Freeman do that. I saw guys challenge backup. So there's a culture. And you mentioned continuity. I think that's the biggest thing I feel good about this season is like that hopefulness with the continuity.
On that point too, and again, I'm just speaking from this year specifically. One of the things that was pointed out after that Tennessee game was going into the game, the entire staff was saying, guys, we have a great game plan. We match up fantastic with them, and it shouldn't be a surprise when we come out and we punch Tennessee in the mouth. And if you look at the broadcast of that game, and if you look at the body language, if I could recall the body language correctly, on the sideline, there were some people who were like shocked we were beating Tennessee because we're just coming off a 6-6 year. We were 6-6 the year before, and people were like, "Oh my God, we're playing in front of 160,000 people, and we're taking it to Tennessee, this SEC team with all of this talent." And that's where it caught up to us. And that was the message all week after that game. It was like, until you guys believe how good you actually are, you will continue to have these letdowns in situations like this. And that's why I always push back on the notion from, and it's not just Virginia Tech's fan base, it's every fan base. I don't like that we're ranked, or I don't like that people are talking about us. If you don't want the noise of expectations and you don't want the excitement of being in the game, of being talked about, you should go cheer for Duke. You should go cheer for Mississippi State. Seriously, like that whole mindset of I don't want expectations. I want to just surprise people. No, I want the target on our back. That is what makes it special. That is what makes it getting up and watching every single Saturday. And then also going into work on Monday and seeing your buddy who sits across from you who went to Arkansas, or your buddy who sits across from you who doesn't even watch college football, and they said, man, I was tuned into Virginia Tech. Y'all got a good football team this year. And everybody's having those conversations right now more than they have in the last 10 years. And that's the type of expectation that Virginia Tech should have, and you should want as a fan for the team that you're rooting for.
Yes.
100%.
Absolutely.
What was my man's name that played for West Virginia, the quarterback, when I think it was 2017 year, going into 2017?
Will
What's
Greer?
my man's name that played for
Greer?
Will Greer. So kind of thinking about that, kind of going back to something like that, what Billy's saying, going from that 16 year to that 17 year, that was a big game, playing at FedEx Field, us
Sunday
going to play
night.
West Virginia, old rivalry.
Only game.
Eyes was on that game.
Everybody's eyes was on that game.
As much as we jump on food and that regime, them first games, man, he would get deep in that bag, man, and them expectations that was on the team was met. A lot of going into that game, it was a lot of hype around that game, and they came in and they kind of did the damn thing. Honestly, you know what I'm saying? Watching that, I remember watching that on TV, like damn. And people, like you said, going into work, and they was like, man, I was watching y'all last night, and shoot, Virginia Tech, they look good. Like that looked like what a Virginia Tech team looks like. Robbie, what you thinking about all this hype and stuff we talking about?
We, from a coaching perspective, we talk about the hype and the things all the time. Now I'm dealing with much different athlete and high school athletes and things like that than what we're talking about here. But I mean, I've coached some teams that, year in, year out, that target's on their back, that hype is built, and it's like walking a tightrope, man. We always talked about hype will fit you up to be humbled. If you fall too far into that hype and listen to the people telling you about how good you are as a player, if you don't have the leader that can humble everybody and be able to tell them, hey, we got that hype because of what we've done, and we've got to continue to do that to keep that hype, you're going to get humbled real quick. And I'm going to tell you what, I've been humbled. I've been humbled a few times as a coach. I've seen teams get humbled because they believed in that hype. But like it was said before, you have to buy into that hype too, because you have to have that kind of raw aggression, that raw emotion of, yeah, we're gonna live to that hype. And you've got to have the people to steer it the right way. Just like you got to have that pole to walk that tightrope. You got to keep that balance. And it's a thin line, but you have to find it and use both to your advantage.
A good comparison that I have, not to leverage it all the way back to high school, but my senior year, I mean, coming in, Paramus Catholic was ranked number 8 in the country. We had Jabril Peppers was returning kicks. He was playing running back. He was quarterback sometimes. We had, I think we sent 8 or 10 kids to Division I schools. And that whole year running through the season, everybody's telling you how good we are. And then we go and we play Don Bosco, Terrell Smith School in the middle of the season. ESPN's there. We get alternate uniforms from Adidas. It was pretty crazy. And they came out and they kicked our ass up and down the field all game. And if we didn't have that reset moment where you have those conversations with your team, and then you're trying to say, hey, look, we're going to piss away this incredible opportunity because you think that it's just owed to you to be good and beat all of these teams and just run roughshod throughout the rest of the season. And then that set us up for an opportunity. We played Brandon Wimbish and Minka Fitzpatrick in the state championship. And if we didn't have that moment in the season because we weren't mature enough to handle it in the preseason, probably don't win that game the last game of the season. So just hoping that we can avoid that. And Coach Pry has preached this all season, how important it is to not get invested in the hype, how important it is not to get invested into how good people are telling you are. You need to believe that you're that good, and you need to put in the work to live up to the opportunity that you have based upon the talent and the seniority and the continuity that you have on your team.
Yeah, Billy, he definitely gave y'all a hell of a soundbite talking about expectations and all that.
Yeah.
So that was a great soundbite, and it's definitely been something that sounds like that's been preached top down. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about that coaching continuity and how they impact that roster. When we look at this coaching staff, this time last year they had only been together about 5 months total as far as a whole staff with the swaps outs in last spring and all that. Now it seems like they're running like a well-oiled machine. Robbie, I'll let you start with this one. What effect does this type of staff continuity have on a team, and particularly a veteran and leader-heavy team like this one?
Oh, it's going to be immeasurable. I mean, to be able to see the schemes that are put in, the consistent coaching points day in, day out over a longer period of time. I mean, I talked to Coach Crook last year at the coaches clinic that we went to. He had been in Blacksburg for like 9 days at that point. He was sleeping on a couch in an apartment that him and the new running backs coach had come in and kind of were renting week to week until they could get everything settled. That's how quick everything turned around and got in there. And to see the improvement in so many areas, especially with the O-line, just in the quick period of time through the spring into the fall, just the fact that that's continuing for a whole year now, getting the same verbiage, the same teaching, that continuity, that consistency all the way through is going to make, things immeasurable. And with the carryover of every coach being back in the same place that they were, I think it's going to pay huge dividends in the end and putting things together. And the players continuing to hear the same thing. They're not getting a different coach every season, things like that. That'll drive a thing in the ground. And I think that's going to be big for them, just continuing to hear the same teaching and buying into those things.
Dwight, what do you got on this one?
Sorry, I agree. I think, I haven't been recruited 20 plus years, but I work with kids. I have a son that's in that situation. I work with a lot of kids who are going to UVA and Virginia Tech. I mentor them. And I do think continuity amongst your coaching staff and that brotherhood, you feel it. Like Virginia Tech is a unique school because of its location and where it's at. And the fact that they have the, hashtag or the whatever, this is home, mantra that they push. I think when you see coaches that really enjoy being Hokies, I tried to warn people when Prague, came back. It was kind of like when Joe Gibbs came back to the Washington Redskins, now Commanders. Everybody thought he was going to hire everybody from the good old days. And I was like, he can't do that. That would be really whack. You can't get everybody from that day. It's a different time. So, as much as I would have loved to see all my I call them the Avengers or those superhero coaches, the truth of the matter is he got some guys, he retained the right guys, and he got some guys that also knew him from other places. So, having Marv, a guy he can trust, and he's mentoring a guy that really took a big step forward last year. Having JC, who bleeds Virginia Tech, punched his hand in a locker or wall against Maryland, the bowl game, and broke it. You saw him getting emotional on that big win to become bowl eligible at UVA. Pearson Prelo, who Greg Williams, when he was a defensive coordinator with Washington and the New Orleans Saints, said Pearson was the smartest football coach he ever coached. And I played with Pearson for 4 years, and he is like a little Torian Gray. Like, he's just a great mind and a great recruiter. We're seeing that. I think having guys that Coach DJ, aka Cheetah, and then just all those guys, Jared Ferguson, who was the great fullback who's working in the strength and conditioning room. Respectfully, I said, Beamer left a blueprint. Some of the stuff needed to be upgraded and modified and evolved into the modern day. But as far as the importance of relationships, I've always said that when I've been on different podcasts like Too Deep or Sons of Saturday, or even this one, I've always said it's the relationships that will help. The relationships will get you players, because parents and kids can see, like, if you've been recruited, obviously, like Billy touched on, which is crazy right now, this NIL stuff. I'm mad because I was on the NC2A games and I ain't getting no paper. I was on 3 of them, bro. All I got was just a rating. I think they rated me a 79. I was in my fields, but now these guys,
not too late to file a lawsuit.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'm not a hater. I'm happy for these youngins, but it's a different game now. But to have coaches that want to stay, that aren't trying to get the bag and want to be there, it's a good feeling. I think it makes sense. I don't want to get all corny and make it more than what it is. I just think those relationships matter when it comes to just having coaches that understand Pride's vision and what he wants. Because the last thing I'll say about this is when a head coach, and Billy talked about this a few years ago in the Twitter space, a head coach is so much more than a coach. He's a CEO. He's got to do Tech Talk Live. He's got to go down to Tidewater and Richmond and Northern Virginia, do coaches clinics and speak, or fundraising. You got to have guys from your administration, main office staff, to your assistant coaches, to the janitorial staff, your trainers. Everybody's got to have your back. You got to have people in that office and in that meeting room, in those meeting room over in Castle, that really know what Pride wants, even when his back is turned. He has to be able to trust those guys. And I think when you have people around you trust, the energy's right. It's just a great thing he's got going on right now. It'll be interesting if we keep having success, if we can retain all these guys, because I think that would be very nostalgic on how it used to be. But, you know, I love the energy around the program when it comes to the coaching staff and having the right guys that used to be there. Like, you know, you got Cam Phillips back, Xavier DB, but they're not in positions. They're in positions where they're going to grow as coaches. You're not, unfortunately, we all love Justin Hamilton, but he was put in an unfair situation where I think Pride knows these guys need this, they need that. So he's doing it where they can grow and learn and eventually get a promotion, whether at Tech or somewhere else.
Yeah, I really like Dwight's point about Pride kind of sticking to the Beamer blueprint, but modernizing it in the way that it needs to be modernized. I think he's done a really good job balancing those two things. So let's keep the combo going.
One second. I wanted to add one thing on this, on the coaching continuity. Couple things. Cam Phillips and Isaiah Ford had two different coaches. They had Moorhead and they had Wiggins. You look at Wyatt Teller, he had three different offensive line coaches: Coach Grimes, Coach Searles, Coach Weiss. And just look at how coaching turnover affects a guy like Dabo Swinney, affects a guy like Nick Saban. It affects everybody. And the one thing that I think is lost on this staff that, you know, we're very quick to criticize. We're not very quick to realize how things have improved. 2 years ago, the verbiage around Coach Bowen was this guy's trash. He doesn't know how to call an offense. He doesn't know how to adjust. He doesn't know how to make in-game adjustments. I don't know how much clearer I could be on this. Coaches are just like you and me. They're just like players. They learn, they adjust, and they get better over time. It's not as simple as we bring somebody in and they're good or bad and they're going to be the same person every single year. Coach Compton, I'm sure you are a much better coach today than you were 10 years ago, right? Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed from Coach Bowen, the person. It has just changed as he has grown with the game. So I think these guys being together, having trust, having the ability to adjust and learn along the way and grow with their team, we're going to continue to see that. And I think that we need to give props to a situation like that, because I'm sure people were very, very critical of a Coach Beamer early in his career, but also a Coach Wiles early on in his career, and also a Coach Foster very early on in his career. Coaches grow just like players grow.
Yeah.
All right,
that's a really good point. That's a really good point before I let Sheldon go. But I do want to say this, Billy. Me and Dwight Vick said, I think we were on the show together or maybe on a space. I'm not going to judge the coach until he gets talent. I don't care about the X's and O's right now. I need to know who he gets. I can't judge Coach Bowen until he gets a player. We need talent. So when he brought talent in, I said, okay, now we'll get to see can he coach. If you can't get the talent, it don't matter how X's and O's you are. You're not going to win as many games as somebody who goes out and gets Kyron Drone. So
it was on the Twitter space. It was on a Twitter space with me, you, and Lauren Johnson. We had like over 350 people in there after the ODU loss. And we were on that joint till like 2:45 in the morning. That's when you said,
Lord have mercy.
Yeah,
I can't do no more of them. Too old, man.
Tally, if you and me show up to a Thanksgiving party, right, and they're broadcasting, hey, Tally's going to put down some food, Billy Ray's going to put down some food, and we show up, and Grandma at this Thanksgiving dinner, her food is trash. You can't judge if I'm going to show up and I'm going to eat a lot of food. So when we show up to a Thanksgiving dinner that has been prepared, they got the good mac and cheese, they got the good mashed potatoes, they got the good turkey. Then we can actually show how we could put down some food. That is a crazy reference to use, but I completely agree with you. Don't judge somebody's ability to coach or do anything if they're not given the tools to do it correctly. So.
Well, Prime Company have a lot of food to work with coming into this season. They've got the full buffet, the full house. Hokies are fourth in returning production this year, according to Bill Connolly of ESPN, and second in returning production on offense. And I think when you look at some of the position groups to focus on the offense, you look at offensive line. I look at two guys in particular on the left side, Xavier Chaplin and Braylon Moore, who were redshirt freshmen last year, but had a full year of experience under their belt. They come back as sophomores this season, and they're surrounded by some old guys like Caden Moore and Parker Clements and Cunningham from Georgia State. So, open-ended question. I guess I wanted to start with Robbie just to kind of get his thoughts on this. We keep talking about continuity. How integral do you see the offensive line being to kind of the overall operation of the offense this year? and just what value do you think having the guys who come back from last year and kind of take their bumps and bruises as they did in 2023? How valuable can that experience be for their growth this season?
Oh, the experience is going to be just having those guys playing together more under the same verbiage, the same systems, the same teachings day in and day out over that time. I mean, they're just going to grow closer together. I talked about it in that last segment. Offensive lines, from my experience, don't do a lot of rotating. Now, you might have to mix and match when you have to fill somebody in, some things like that, but there's not a lot of rotating because you build that chemistry knowing exactly how the guy beside you is going to move and attack and take on different things. And I think that's going to be the fact that you had two young guys come in there learning a lot from some of the older guys. You have a coach now that's in his second year going through this. They're going to continue to build it's going to build confidence in what they're doing. They understand things more. They feel better with each other. They're building that chemistry. And I think that's going to be a big thing for them pushing forward. And I think it's just going to make them better in the long run. And the guys behind them are going to see the same things and continue to push it up.
Dwight, I want to ask you a question. And this is kind of how I'm thinking about this. All season, every one of those offensive linemen have heard everybody talking trash about that unit. All offseason. They've heard it nonstop about how bad this unit is, how horrible they are, how if I saw Parker Clements in an alley, it's on site. First of all, none of you are fighting Parker Clements. 0 of you are fighting Parker Clements, and you would lose. But when we interviewed Kyron, I brought this up, and he was like, look, they all hear what you're saying. Like, they all hear you guys. At the end of the day, you look back at guys like, I'll say it again, Jay Glock, Wyatt Teller, Christian Darrisaw. These are all guys who got better year after year after year after year. And this time they're coming back with a quarterback who is a playmaker, dynamic running backs. We talk about Tootin a lot. Malachi Thomas is going to be fantastic because he's healthy finally. I'm so excited to watch this unit play because I feel like Virginia Tech fans could not have, honestly, a lower expectation for this unit. And I think they're going to come out, and I think they're going to improve dramatically this upcoming year, just based upon the continuity, based upon the amount of talent that they have behind them. I am so excited to watch this unit play. And on that note too, losing Daquan Wright, incredible talent. Daquan Wright is an incredible talent. You are replacing Daquan Wright with Gallo, St. Germain, and Gosnell, who are all difference makers in the run game. If you have a defensive end who's giving you problems, you're going to stick Nick Gallo over there, and you're going to have him chip. You're going to have him double team. You're going to have him help out where he needs to help out. So I think that you have 3 tight ends who all can contribute in the run game are going to make a huge difference. It'll be interesting to see if we do any type of H-back situation or have them in the backfield, how we're going to utilize them specifically, manipulate the pocket. But I got my eyes on this offensive line, and I'm very, very bullish on them. And I don't think it was as bad as everybody says it was towards the end of last year. Like everybody talked about it being historical. Everybody was talking about how it was awful. Look, they had their problems and they had their issues, but we also had multiple games where we rushed for over 100 yards towards the end of the season when they finally understood the scheme, which changed 3 or 4 times throughout the year. We talk about how important it is from a chemistry standpoint. What about knowing where you need to go? If we're changing our scheme week to week because we're trying to figure out, A, who's going to be our starting quarterback, and B, what type of offense we're going to run to match the starting quarterback that we have, that's a huge challenge, not just for the quarterback, but the offensive line, because you're not doing the same thing week to week. So I can't wait to watch these guys get out there and do their thing.
Go ahead. The one thing that I seen from last year that I give the offensive line credit on, but also the guys that's back there running the ball, it's like once they seen that Tootin's not going down it's hard to get him down with one person. It's hard to get Kyron down with one person. But what I hate to see is that somebody that's running the ball in those early games, Tootin was getting killed. It was 2 and 3 people hitting him in the backfield. Later in the season, you start seeing, even if the lineman messed up, they were going to the ball. They were going to get somebody. Even if they hit the wrong person, we're going to hit somebody. So, because they knew that their runners were staying up. So, I think Brody Meadows the most like downfield, still blocking, going and finding somebody to hit. Seeing stuff like that does give you, I don't want to say hope, because I think that the line will be fine. I think they have enough leaders to be like, hey, you got to get your ass in gear. So I don't want to say hope, but it does give me like, and they have people pushing them. When you have some depth and you have people behind you that say, hey, if you mess up, I'm going to take you out. That does change a little bit of what you do as well. You know what I'm saying? Because, I see it all the time. Like when my son's playing, he's the only center fielder on his team. When they bring another kid in, hey, he plays center field too. He ups his game a little bit. So that's kind of what I want to see because of the depth piece and, having a little bit more people that can go in and rotate into places and figure out who's the best 5 week in, week out on the offensive line.
Well, also, too, I just think, Billy touched on it. I think if you have an offensive line coach you're familiar with, I talked to Tyler Bowen back in April at the spring game, and Tyler Bowen was telling me on the sideline during the Friday walkthrough, he was like, yeah, Vic, man, we feeling real good around here because everybody kind of knows what they're supposed to be doing versus last year. We were all trying to figure it out. I'm paraphrasing, but that's basically what he was saying, which you could see. I just think when I look back at my career and I look back, at UNC and other teams, Billy made a fantastic point about, Dabo losing Venables and the other guy. Like when you lose great coaches, and you can't replace them with guys that fit your culture and that there's no continuity, the players suffer. When I had Coach Grimes, not the Grimes y'all know that was with Fuente, but another Grimes, really, really great coach. He was there my redshirt year, my redshirt freshman, sophomore, and junior year. He was tough as nails. This is a guy that had a heart attack during the game. He had a heart attack during the Boston College game and still called us all before he drove himself to the hospital. He ended up leaving to go coach at Arkansas because he was an SEC guy, but then Steinspring, who was a tight ends coach, took over for him as an O-line coach. And we kept the same verbiage. Ricky Bussell was an OC. So the same offense that Drunken Miller ran, Mauricio Sajo, Al Clark ran as well, same offense Mike ran. So when you're an offensive lineman, if you're a backup and you're getting time and blowouts, you're getting in to give me 5 plays rest, and then you step up, you're going to be good. And then on top of it, like Billy said, that's one thing I'm not jealous of. I'm jealous of the NIL, but I'm not jealous of social media. I'm so glad we did not have X, aka Twitter, when I played, man, because there's so many guys that think they know. Like, for example, I remember last year, we ran the 4th and 1, and we didn't get it. Everybody was like, "This line, this play calling sucks," and I was like, "Actually, the tight end and the backside tackle missed their block. They did a run blitz and they whiffed on it. That's why he got tackled in the backfield." I'm one of those guys that watches the offensive line every play on all levels. So it's one of those things where you have to pay attention. But I think a lot of stuff, man, we're gonna learn first week, man, against Vanderbilt, which is good. That's a good game to start off with.
I know talking from conversations with Coach Crook, he's a man that's built on a mentality. And that's one thing it's taken some time for him to push into that O-line room. I by no means have doubted them. I know they've had rough times, but he pushes a mentality. Like he sets those guys up to understand, regardless of what anybody says and what anybody believes, we've got to be the hardest workers on this field. And you talk, Billy, talking about getting downfield and these guys being the people that you see running downfield. That's a mentality that Crook's putting in there. I guarantee you that. It's a culture he likes to build and push in. And when the more they buy into that mentality and push into that culture, the better they're going to get. And then they're going to bring those younger guys, bring the new guys that come in. They start to take in that mentality. And I know I'm coming here because of this. And this is the way that we play. And it's just going to continue to breed that success. I think it's going to push it, even further in the years to come, as long as they can keep that group together.
One final point, too, on the O-line is that, I've said this before back when I used to work for Rivals and 247. It is the hardest position to recruit, and it's the hardest position to transition to the next level, D1, D2, or D3. Like, I was a monster in high school, but I only faced a couple of guys that were on my level. Some guys I look like the kid from The Blind Side when he was driving that redhead D-line all the way into the parking lot. You know what I'm saying? Because I was going against the guy that came to my belly button. Because, you might go against a Phoebus or Oscar Smith, but then there's a couple of weeks where you're going against a team that's just terrible. Like, playing Gloucester. Gloucester was horrible. Like, I knew I wasn't going to play into the first half because I was like, man, these guys are terrible. And they weren't bad kids. They were just not on our level. So, just because you're really dominant in high school, whatever state you play in, it's the verbiage and understanding the fronts and knowing how you might see one front before the ball is snapped and they may switch. So like that transition is hard. And then if you don't know the offense and the verbiage, like, identifying the mic, and there are very few high schools. And I mean, of course, schools like IMG, and I'm sure Billy played or seen some schools like that up in Jersey, but not every school in high school, Virginia, DC, Maryland, are like, oh, okay, I need you, Mike, to identify the Mike linebacker. I need you to tell me where's the wheel. Like, it's like, block the guy in front of you. It's like, bro, like, and then you get to Tech or wherever, Maryland, UVA, whatever, you like, hey, son, where's the wheel? You know what I'm saying? Like, head up, like even blocking with your head up. It's small things. Like, and that's why I love, like, we got a kid I love up here coming to Tech. He's at Forest Park. I just interviewed him on Princeton County Media Day. He's a great looking lineman. He's good. But I told him, I said, hey, you got to get in the habit of studying film. You got to get in the habit of conditioning, because Billy knows this, especially when Mike Gentry was there. We conditioned like receivers. We did conditioning. You think I'm tripping? We conditioned, bro. And that's another thing. But anyway, I don't want to take up too much. I just know that the O-line is always one of those spots where, everyone's not going to have a Georgia or an Alabama. I always tweet, look at the line like Georgia has. They make everything look good. But if you can get some guys that play as one and are physical, you're gonna have a lot more wins and losses.
100%. Let me go into this, because so much of what y'all three are talking about is culture, and announced very early, and it probably was in the motion months ago, was the on-field roles now for guys like a DB, for Brent Davis, going to be able to effectively now work with the offensive line and have a voice. How big is that? Because we're making the point about the continuity, right? Everybody who got named to effectively associates, with the exception of Cam Phillips, had been in there. How big is that as the culture is going to continue to get preached? Billy, I'll let you go with this one, because your former teammates on there, right? Was Winslow?
Yeah, I mean, not Winslow, but Cam. I mean,
Cam. Sorry,
Cam is one of the best wide receivers to ever play at Tech, and
Absolutely.
his ability and his age to connect with these kids. Like when I've talked to Tucker or some of these other guys about his impact, it's not just his knowledge of the game, it's his knowledge of being in their shoes and going through what they're going through. And I think that plays a huge role. At the end of the day, if you have I don't mean to be ageist here, but if you have a staff that is compiled of, 40, 50, 60-year-old men, there's not a whole lot they're going to be able to talk to and relate to with players on their team. And the fact that you have a Winslow and a Cam Phillips and guys who have gone through this and been there before, that makes a huge difference. And then on the flip side, I'm not advocating for too many cooks in the kitchen here, but there's no other way to slice it. Coach Kill had an effect on Virginia Tech's offense in 2019. Mm-hmm. That was another brain that was able to sit in the meeting rooms, break down what was going on offense, and be able to bring a different recipe to the table, a different opinion to the table, and kind of look at things for what they are. So I think, look, it's huge. And I love that Coach Pry is leading into having former players on this staff. I love that former players want to come back and be a part of this staff as well. It makes a huge difference. And speaking specifically to guys like Cam and a DB, having somebody that you can go and not ask necessarily, hey, where do I go on, 49 wing snap, whatever, having a guy that you can go and ask him about his experience and his time at Tech and how he handled different things in his day-to-day, I think that makes a huge difference. And I love, this isn't broadcasted because he's not that kind of guy at all. Isaiah Ford's been back to Tech a bunch of times, mentoring the guys, talking to them, helping them out. He's prioritized getting back, and they've prioritized asking him to come back and work with these wide receivers. And I think that's fantastic that his opinion is being sought after, and he's interested in coming back and doing that. So shout out to Isaiah.
Yeah, I think the staff has done a really good job of leaning on their alumni, like leaning on the football alumni a lot more than I think we were used to. And that's not just a knock on Fuente, because I feel like even going back to the latter days of Bieber's time, there wasn't quite as much of that as you would have liked. And I love seeing that aspect kind of coming back into the Blacksburg culture and the Hokie culture.
It's probably easier. It's probably easier to do that when it's not. I'm trying to think of what it would be like if, Cam or Isaiah were to come back with the same staff that was here, right? Like the fact that there's a disconnect and there's a new group that you're getting familiar with, and it's not Isaiah going back and then the coaching staff has familiarity with Isaiah from when he was a 16-year-old boy growing up in Florida. They're coming out and they're looking at this as an opportunity to grow in coaching and grow in that field. And it's not just going back to where you started with the same faces and the same familiarity and the same situation. You're joining a new staff, bringing your opinions from your time and your experience with a different staff and a completely different setup, and then applying that to what they're building now. So I think there's a stark difference there too.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's a great point, B. When you talk about even in the Beamer latter years, I remember when I was there, you could tell it was time for Coach Kavanaugh and a lot of those guys to retire. But I think when I look at some of the struggles, bringing in guys like Leffler. Leffler is a good OC, but you got to think about the backs we had with J.C. Coleman, Sean McKenzie, and Marshawn Williams from Phoebus. And there's another guy I'm forgetting. We had a lot of backs, right? But I felt like, because I used to do the pregame show with Cal Belly during that time. So I was there, and we went on before Bill Roth and Mike Burnup, and then we did the postgame, and then we went and did the presser. And I could tell at that time that I used to tell Kyle, I said, we got to get some young blood up in here, man, because it was like basically a lot of older gentlemen that really couldn't, even though Beamer was dancing and had his hat to the back and was doing, the surf and all of that, the rest of the coaching staff, a lot of our methods became antiquated and outdated. You heard Bud Foster talk about that when Fuente got hired, when Fuente came in and was like, we got to change our recruiting pitch with the letters, because Foster has said we were using the same graphics from the 90s. You know what I'm saying? So having guys like Cam and them in the locker room and, guys that recently did it in the NFL or XYFL, also being able to speak their language, understand the music they're listening to, it's huge. That's why I said it's a good balance, because the coaching staff is not also, they're older, but they're still not out of touch. Like, it's a good balance. And culture is one of those things I've been saying, you heard probably between me and Brendan Hill, we probably said that word 1,000 times on X, because that's what I saw in the later years of Beamer. And then when Fuente, after his first 3 years that were real successful, I felt like the brand took a major hit. I was listening to Sons of Saturday one time, and I'm glad Billy said it, because if they had a call in, I would have called in and said, Billy said, listen, guys, he said, I'm sorry to inform you guys, but Virginia Tech is not the school y'all think it is anymore. Our brand is trash. And I kept trying to tell people that, because if you remember, we missed out on Deshaun Hand, who had us number one. I took him. I didn't take him. He followed me to Virginia Tech on his first visit. He met Tyrod Taylor and Cam Chancellor. We were number one. We dropped to 5. He went to Alabama. Josh Sweat went to Florida State. All right, Florida State. We were his number one. Stein Spring had him. We finished number 2 behind Florida State. Devin Ford, Ricky Slade Jr., top 5 players in the nation, top 5 backs, chose Penn State, both of them, even though one of them was already there. We kept finishing second. This Derek Noddy, who plays in the NFL, was a big-time defensive lineman in the 757, chose Florida State as well. So we lost that edge. Our brand was so bad because the culture at Tech was outdated and antiquated. The Beamer Ball thing was great. The lunch pail was still impactful, but it was almost like, yeah, you guys have the history, but you're going 6-6.
Kids these days, probably they know who Michael Vick is. They didn't grow up watching Michael Vick. Like, you can only retweet these videos for so long. And it's almost like today, you're not going up to people in Chicago and saying, man, you're a Bulls fan like Michael Jordan. Like, they don't know. They didn't live through Michael Jordan. They don't know what Michael Jordan is. They know Lonzo Ball and finishing as a lottery team for the last 20 years and having no playoff success outside of the blip of Derrick Rose. The coaches that are able to keep up with the times, and I said coaches, I really just mean coach. Nick Saban is the only guy, in my opinion, who did this perfectly. He, at the exact right time, realized defense alone is not going to win me national championships. And he went out and he got the best offensive coordinator that was available every single cycle, prioritized a fast-paced offense, and prioritized new offensive schemes. And that is why he had his first dynasty and he had his second dynasty, because he wasn't headstrong and was able to adjust as the game adjusted. Nick Saban back in 2006 probably wasn't taking pictures in Lamborghinis and driving guys down to whatever version of In-N-Out they have in Tuscaloosa, but he played the game a little bit. And we're going to see if Dabo Swinney, the spotlight's kind of on him right now, is he going to Crystals? Is he going to be able, or Jack in the Box? Is he going to be able to make those adjustments the same way that a Nick Saban did before? So jury's out on that.
Nick Saban was different. Along with that offense, along with him changing that offense, you was used to him having those big old defensive linemen like Terrence Cody, and he realized I can't win like that no more. I'm gonna change that up, and he started getting linemen. He started getting linemen that were big, but they ran fast as well. So Nick was just a little bit ahead of his time most of the time. But Dwight was hitting on a couple of things. We've hit on a lot of stuff tonight. I do want to hit this question though. To kind of go along with like Dwight was saying about our brand and like Billy has said. So this statement, the Hokies are back. You know, a lot of people have been throwing it around thinking it. When will you see an example or blank? What happens where you know the Hokies are back?
Oh man, who started that? Who started that statement, man? Who
Everybody started. Let me tell you when I will say the Hokies are back, despite the winnings and things like that. This is when I would think the Hokies are back. When our social media team takes a look and goes, Michael Vick, you could pick 5 quarterbacks or you can pick 10 quarterbacks, and you can do it during Black History Month. You can go Michael Vick all the way up to Kyron Drones, and you just do 2 clips of them and say, this is Virginia Tech. That's how I know we back. That's what Virginia Tech is. Even when you think, I don't care if they're black or white, but when you think about quarterbacks and mobile quarterbacks across the nation, you think about Virginia Tech and the way that they play football. When they start tapping into that, and when we see that, Virginia Tech's back. That's what I have to say.
I'm so glad you brought this up because I wasn't going to bring it up. But my good friend John Robinson from New Jersey, grew up in Englewood. He called me up and he goes, hey, I'm watching John Robinson is an African-American from Englewood. And he says, hey, I'm looking at all this Hokie hype and I think I'm buying in. And I said, well, what's the difference now? I mean, Miami's got a bunch of hype and all these other teams got a bunch of hype. And he says, I mean, to be honest, I looked at your roster and behind quarterback, you don't have a Colton. You don't have a Todd. You don't have a Henry. You have a Kyron lining up behind center.
You know who has those? You know who has those names now? Clemson. Clemson has the K's and the Chads and the offensive lineman names. I don't see the Todges and the Quans and
in all seriousness, like I think to answer your question and tie this back into it, I think it's a couple things for me. It's playing meaningful football in November. We talk about this on our show all the time. Playing meaningful football in November is something that Virginia Tech prided itself on doing for over a decade. I think that's huge. Number 2, home field and Virginia Tech is more than just an entrance. Like I say this a ton. I got a ton of flack after the West Virginia game where my dad texted me after the West Virginia game and he said, you guys should stop doing Enter Sandman. Now, obviously he was being a little facetious here, but he said, it's just got to get old watching you guys do this incredible thing and then come out and it doesn't live up to that expectation. When that is not the first thing and the only thing that people associate with Virginia Tech is you better tune in for the first 90 seconds. That's going to be huge. It's going to be awesome. Yeah. And then lastly, and I want to credit this to Kyron, it's playing with the swagger. It's playing with, I'm not the nail, I'm the hammer. And Virginia Tech was not doing that in the first half of last season. And the most pivotal moment in Virginia Tech under this era was when Kyron threw that first touchdown against Pittsburgh. And he went down the field, and you don't typically love this. He talked to every single DB linebacker.
Who said we don't love
shit?
and it wasn't necessarily about him doing that, and it was just necessarily he was exuding the confidence that Virginia Tech has not had for a long time. Because I remember when I went into that game and I scanned my ticket, and I'm talking about that game going into it, this Pittsburgh game, I'm like, this has an opportunity to be a devastating night in Lane Stadium. If we go out here and we lose to Pittsburgh and we're 1-3, 1-4, like everybody's in trouble. That week of Twitter, that week of in the athletic department, everywhere would have been a disaster. And his ability to come in as a starter in that position and exude so much confidence. And we've all seen the video of the Oklahoma State quarterback when he got in the game and his hands were shaking and he wasn't ready for the moment. He didn't have that at all. And he was ready for that moment. He met that moment. He grew. And he even had that moment where he had the fumble sack situation where they turned over in plus territory, but he didn't blink at all. And I think when Virginia Tech exudes that confidence, they are the team that this backward is stupid, in my opinion. I think it's kind of silly because you're never back. You have to live up to it every single week and every single year. It goes back to there's no earned expectations and there's no earned results. So you're never back. You are in it. And Virginia Tech is in it when they have. Damn, that was pretty good. I'll actually give myself a pat on the back. You're never back. You're in it. And when you're in it, it's you're exuding confidence. You're playing meaningful football in November. That's my opinion on it.
Man, I'm gonna say this. Billy took a little bit of my answer, but I'm gonna take a little bit further. We will be back when we take care of business and win games we're supposed to, especially on the road. Virginia Tech's first 3 years in the ACC, they were road warriors. David Till did a big article. They were very reminiscent of Florida State. When they came in the ACC in 2004, they won every road game. The first 3 years in the ACC, they were 16-1 on the road. They won a critical game against Miami in 2004 to win the ACC outright. They beat UNC that year at UNC. Mike Emo ran for 204 yards. They also won other games on the road, including into a solid Wake Forest team. Like they were road. They had another game that following year in 2005, the inaugural ACC championship game, when they played in front of a sold-out NC State crowd. My cousin Marcus and those guys went crazy. If you remember, he threw the touchdown, and they went in the end zone. They posed and took the pictures. They had attitude. People don't realize, again, just a historical perspective, the ACC did not want Tech in there because we were known as goons. We were assholes. Ronyo Whitaker, Jimmy Williams. We had an attitude. We were very physical. Popping the Wake Forest game when Wake Forest won the ACC that year, we were ranked and they were ranked. We went down there and beat them 27-6. That's the hit when Aaron Rouse pop dude, DB picked up the ball, didn't realize it was still live, and he kept running. We scored. We smacked everybody. We had a tough loss that year, so subsequently Georgia Tech and Wake Forest played for the ACC that year. But we had an attitude and we were road warriors. Like, we can't say we back and then go to Vanderbilt. And we're going to the fourth quarter. Vanderbilt's up 20, Virginia Tech 9. If that shit's happening, I don't want to hear that back shit. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, the same people saying we're back will be in a Twitter space with all of us talking about, man, Pry got to go, man. He got to go. That's what's going to happen. So, Virginia Tech, that whole we're back, if we're back, it's because the brand is matching the expectations. One thing about us, we got the nickname, which I hate, but I get it, the Chokies, because we had expectations and we would be in these big games or we would be ranked top 5, top 10, and we couldn't finish it. That tough loss to Boston College, the Matt Ryan game. I told people, I did a radio show every Thursday morning, my morning segment. I told Big Dog Sports Radio, Rick, I said, Rick Watson, the next step for me is, I said this to Tally on his Twitter space, is when Pry starts getting those Mount Rushmore recruits, like Beamer did, the Kevin Joneses, the Michael Vicks. When you start, and I don't really want to use Mount Rushmore because it's not enough heads, but you know what I mean, a game changer. And I said in that Twitter space, yep, I'm going to call it. I said, Kyron Jones looks like that first recruit, right, that's going to take the game to the next level. So one thing I've realized that over the decades that Virginia Tech was relevant is that, like Billy said, we were playing meaningful ball in November. We also had players that were very physical, that had attitudes. Daryl Tapp, those guys, Wyatt Teller, just taking people downfield and even though sometimes he was a bit extra, I loved it. We had an attitude. Virginia Tech just used to be very tough, and we won games on the road because we came in your house and we took it to you. Our fans always showed up, and we used to match that energy. So like Vanderbilt and Rutgers in those games, I personally think Rutgers, I was watching the segment before I jumped on, everybody like Rutgers this, Rutgers that. If Virginia Tech plays their game, they should beat Rutgers by 3 scores. Respect. I don't know why this hype. Did y'all see what Rutgers did? Rutgers beat us for throwing only 35 yards last year. You know what happened against Rutgers? We did not match their energy on the O-line and D-line. We didn't match. It wasn't like they did anything special. If we stopped them on 4th and 1, we get the ball back. But our linebackers got crushed. And that's the part about making the play. I don't want to name every household linebacker in Virginia Tech football history, but when you hear about Virginia Tech being back and the attitude, the chip, it was a mindset they had. It didn't matter when you lost these 3 players, the next 3 players came. In that Gator Bowl, when I mentioned Jimmy Williams, he got suspended because he pushed the referee. What people don't realize is Brandon Flowers and Eric Green held it down that game. They, because you didn't miss a beat when Jimmy Williams went out. And that's the part about depth and attitude and the chip on your shoulders. I think, like the statement I said about Rutgers, that sounds crazy. It's not I'm not thinking it's the Rutgers of old. I'm just saying, like, to me, it's the same thing with ODU. If we go down and play them on my birthday and we're in a dogfight in the 3rd quarter, I got a lot of questions. I got a lot of questions. I'm going to have some serious concerns. I might not even get into Twitter space if we're struggling with them. Because it's not about disrespecting them. It's just where we should be.
The one thing I'll say about Rutgers is the area that I don't want to say it concerns me, but the area that I'm most interested in is 2 things. Greg Schiano is a ball coach. He is a fantastic ball coach. He's going to have a great scheme when he come into that game. And number 2, we're going to learn so much about our team because what I can hang my hat on with Rutgers is they're going to compete up front. If you go back and you turn the film on when they played Ohio State, I believe this game was at Rutgers, but they played Ohio State. They were in that ball game up until the 4th quarter. So I agree with you, Dwight. If we play our game and play up to our potential, we should win almost, if not every single game on our schedule. Like that is just the truth. That is not how college football usually pans out. But I agree with everything that you said. It is that attitude and that expectation that we're not just coming to show up to win the game. We're coming here to wear your ass out for 4 quarters. A physical brand of football that nobody wants to play against with you. And is rare, extremely rare in the 2020s and 2010s. Not a lot of teams do that anymore.
No, and I'll say this with the Rutgers thing. The reason I'm more confident against Rutgers is we have them at home. The one thing Curtis and Brian and Tally talked about this last year on their pod, we finally got back to taking care, minus the NC State loss and the Purdue loss where we played 6 hours later. We finally look like Virginia Tech of the old at home in Lane State. We know what to do at Lane. So Rutgers is coming to Lane, where I feel really good. If we had to go up there again, because they were like, I believe it was a sold out crowd. They had the red working. Rutgers has the talent. You're right about Coach Greg, but I just feel like when you are a ball control offense and you know they're going to run it on 3rd and 5, and if you have the D-line and linebackers that JC talked about, we got to be able to take those teams and get a block punt or get a turnover fumble and get up. It's not always going to be on the offense, but I feel like what Shelton talked about, the weapons we have on offense, we didn't use that. We didn't use them against Rutgers last year. We were out there just kind of running Chiron all over the place. Mm-hmm. Anyway, we'll see. That's the beauty of this, right? We'll see in about a few more weeks.
More weeks.
We'll get to see what they do. I'm excited. That's one I kind of circled because, to Billy's point, you're going to get 4 quarters with Rutgers. They're not going to back down. They're going to be well coached. They're going to be prepared, and you're going to have to go out there and earn it. Now, I think if you just look at the guys, I think we got the guys. Yeah. And to Dwight's point, you got the lane advantage. And Pry's shown that he can take care of home. So that's going to be an interesting game, and I think it kind of sets up that nightmare run that we have with Miami on the road and then going out west to Stanford. So it's going to be interesting to see how we play in that game and how that sets the tone for those next 2 as well.
I think Rutgers is the same. Sorry, Billy, I was going to say I looked it up. Last year, Rutgers was 7-6 like us. They were 1-4 on the road. That's why I said that. 1-4 on the road. That's why I said that. Yep.
I think Rutgers also is has a little bit of a problem with an unfortunate name because if you're not, nobody on this call, but a lot of people are like, we're playing Rutgers week 3 at home. Rutgers has that name that kind of rolls off of your tongue where you're like, Rutgers, who is Rutgers? I'm just telling you, Rutgers is coached by Greg Schiano. They have a good defensive line, a good offensive line.
I'll be honest, I would feel a lot worse about this game if Wimsatt was still the quarterback.
You damn right. If Wimsatt was still their quarterback, would not feel as good.
Would we? I mean, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn if he.
But he was running all over.
He ran all over us. Him and
I'll take Mansour and I'll take Dorian out there covering those wide receivers against whatever Wimsatt could do on third down and long and just scrambling for first downs.
He kept running. He kept running on us. That's what I'm saying.
They went 27 for 220 those two last year. They both broke 100 in that game. And the big back was the 4th and 1, Dwight, that you basically said we got wiped out. But we're gonna wrap it up here. But we kept saying, when are we back? When are we back? We're gonna be back if it's a year from now. It's the expectation. It's that expectation we want every year. We want to. You said it. You gave a great monologue earlier. We want to be good. We want that expectation. We want to win every year. And if that's when it's going to become, that's what it was. I'm a fan of 29 years now. Jesus Christ, I'm old. Not as old as Dwight, but still old. Not as old as Dwight.
Hey,
gotta get it. But for the better part of my life, for 20 years, it was we're a top 10 team. We can go making a national title run. We can win the ACC. We can win the Big East. We can do these things. When you start saying that again, every time you think of Virginia Tech football, that's when you're back. Because it's no wonder what can we do this year? It's no, this is what we're going to do this year.
That's what I was going to say. With Virginia Tech's back when the 6 of us have to sit here and shut up about, all right, which game on the schedule is going to cause us a problem? And
None of them.
When 6 of us are sitting here going, all right, who the hell's after that? Because we really don't care.
We don't care.
We're going to go after.
Yep. Who's next? Well, Dwight, Billy, Robbie, we really appreciate y'all joining us. And that is
thank you guys, man. Thank you. This is a great production every year. You guys do a great job. Seriously.
And to everybody here, to Dwight, Billy Ray, Robbie, Pete B, Danny Nokes, Mike McDaniels, even he couldn't be with us tonight, David Cunningham, Jeremy, Dan, Grayson, Don V, my fellow compadres here, Brian Talley. Y'all, we put Sheldon to bed. He says, y'all, I'm done. Check out, if you're listening right now, check out all of their content. Check VT, check Vicktory Life out. Check Sons of Saturday out. Robbie's coaching. If you're down in North Carolina and you see North Wilkesboro Vikings playing, go check him out on the sidelines this year.
It may not be real pretty.
Well, yeah, that's what you got to
give it all we got, baby.
But I'm going to say this. We are brought to you by the Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg. I'm Curtis Wilson.
Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
Check us out, boundarycornerbt.com, to listen to all of our episodes while you're there. Follow us wherever you can follow us. Follow all of these guys who came on here tonight, all of their podcasts. Subscribe to them. Go to their YouTube channels. Go to their websites. Visit them. Coach Pry has said numerous times to us, he always shouts out the content that we put out. He always shouts out. He shouts out y'all as well. I know. We do it. We have a lot of fun. We love this program, y'all. Our buddy Jason Long, he plays us in, he plays us out. Check him out. As always, 3 hours, 22 minutes, 8 seconds. Let's go.
Bedtime.
Okay.